Kinnick Stadium with 70,000 plus. No one in the Hawkeye State is neutral about this one. The 50th meeting between the Cyclones of Iowa State and the Iowa Hawkeyes. How intense is this rivalry? All you need to know is that for 43 years, there was so much bad blood, they were not allowed in the same stadium together. But 25 years ago, they started up the series again. It gets better every year. Welcome to Iowa City. Dave Barnett, along with Bill Curry, Mike Golic. For Iowa, it all comes down to how they deal with Seneca Wallace.
You know, we always talk with the coaches, Dave, and in talking with the Iowa defensive coaches, it's obvious they have an obsession with number 15, the quarterback, Seneca Wallace, and with good reason. Mike, he is a nightmare for coaching.
Well, you want to stop him, control the ball. Iowa 6th in the country in rushing, 282 yards a game. 4 seniors on the offensive line. Dave, the Hogs for Iowa can control this game.
Iowa State has won the last 4, and mostly close calls by 3 at home last year. 25 years ago, they started up this series again. And everybody in the state of Iowa has their eyes on Kinnick Stadium right now. Iowa State has won the toss and elected to defer. Iowa receiving. Drives it low. And Iowa will break a big return. To the 46-yard line, Jamal Lewis.
What a way to start the game. This is want. This is absolute want by Lewis running the ball. Good blocking. You'll see he'll have a hole, but then he starts to break the tackles. And now it's legs churning. You're not going to bring me down. That's a way to start a ball game if you're for Iowa.
42-yard return for Lewis. Brad Banks, senior quarterback, Belle Glades, Florida, 5th nationally this week in pass efficiency. At 66%, 3 touchdowns, has not been intercepted yet. And a play fake on the money to C.J. Jones, his cousin, and already into Cyclone territory at the 46-yard line. Brad Banks, 10 games last year, mostly as a backup to Kyle McCann. He can run the ball too. With him in the backfield, Fred Russell gets his 3rd straight start, 2nd in the nation, 160 yards per game so far. Cervantes is fullback, and up front, Gallery, Steinbach, Nelson, Lightfoot, and Porter. That's 4 seniors, 1 junior. And when you have experience like that on your offensive line, you expect to have a good year. So far they are. Here's Russell. Russell into the clear and gone. 46 yards, touchdown Hawkeye.
We just talked about the offensive line. The main man on the offensive line, Bruce Nelson, his 38th consecutive start, number 72. He gets the kickout block. Russell slips 1 block. That's all he needed. Anthony Forrest misses him, and he is off to the races, all starting by that big O-line and experienced line up front.
2 plays, 1 minute gone. And Nate Kaeding makes it 7-0 Iowa.
Everything starts with the big men up front. We say that again and again. Very seldom do we get to show you. Watch 72, the center. That's a trap block right there. Something not done by centers until just within the last 3 or 4 years. But excellent agility from the former walk-on player. And I might add, an excellent student, Bruce Nelson. And he wasn't the only one that did a good job in there. Andy Lightfoot, number 70, the right guard. Steinbach, 56, the left guard. All conspiring to open that big hole for Russell.
Well, this is what you're going to see out of Iowa. Again, 4 out of 5 are seniors up front. They have a lot of experience. They want to play smash mouth football, Dave. Control the ball. You do that, Seneca Wallace doesn't see the field as much.
Wow.
If there's any complaint with that drive, hey, guys, you scored too fast. We got to play defense against Seneca now. You think Dan McCarney's intense? That's how it feels, all in that face right there. He's won 4 in a row from his alma mater.
So Kaeding has it teed up. And Seneca Wallace, when he finally takes the field, will already have a deficit to try and cut into. Backbeat Lance Young and Michael Wagner. And this is a high one coming down to Wagner at the 8. Wagner spins off a hit. Return to the 25-yard line. Now we get to see Seneca Wallace, and if you haven't seen him, you're in for a treat today. Senior out of Sacramento, almost completely overlooked by everybody. Went to Oregon State as the defensive back kick returner. Transferred to Sacramento City College. Now he is lighting up fields all over the Big 12. Danielsen and Montgomery, his receivers. Hiawatha Rutland has already had big days. 93 yards against Florida State, 122 against Kansas. Woodley, the fullback, knocked the tight end. Knock in motion. And Wallace to the air. And a throw on the run broken up. Derek Cagle with a hand on that one. And the Iowa State offensive line. Shelton, Johnson, Butler, Montgomery, Stubby. Biggest man is Johnson at 321, the Iowa defensive front.
And across the way, Colin Cole, number 94, is the undisputed leader of the defensive front men. Look for Cole to be encouraging his men by example.
Kenny Segan in motion. And they go reverse to Lane Danielsen, who feels nobody and loses to the 22. Grant Steen, least of all, was he fooled.
What a great job by Grant Steen, number 42. This is starting to sound like a broken record. He's a former walk-on. What he did is to hold his ground. He did not run in pursuit. His job was to remain exactly where he is, in place, looking for something coming back. When he does that, the play is dead. As fast as Danielsen is, Steen's in too good a position for him. Great football play.
So a loss of 3, and 3rd and 13 has Wallace in the gun with 4 wide. Quarterback draw all the way. And they had that bottled up pretty well. Chased to the sideline by D.J. Johnson. Iowa linebackers, Steen, Barr, and Worthy.
Barr, a guy who's 13th on all-time list in tackles. You'll see him everywhere.
And in the secondary, watch Sanders today, all Big Ten and pound for pound about as big a hitter as there is in college football. So Tony Yelp will kick it away for the Cyclones. Ed Hinkle standing at his 32. High snap, but not a bad kick. And it chases Hinkle back. In fact, he will take it on a hop. With a marker down, Hinkle weaving to the 30. A 54-yard boot by Yelp.
Yeah, they're going to get him for blocking in the back. This one will come back.
One thing I noticed there, Hinkle did not display confidence in catching that ball on the fly. He waited for it to bounce. He's dropped 2 punts this year, and I think that affected him.
The 10-yard penalty for the follow foul. First down.
Hal Dowden, referee, a Big 12 officiating crew. So 7-0. 12:40 to go in the first quarter at a wild Kinnick Stadium already. They train him early. And they paint him early.
Yeah. What happened to her face?
I'm sure she was real happy about that. Hold still.
Hawkeyes start from inside their own 15. Their first possession is scored on 2 plays. This one starts with a give to the man who had the touchdown, Fred Russell. And he is buried by Matt Word. Iowa State already burned defensively up front. Karsten, the former 228-pound walk-on, now goes 300 pounds. Co-defensive MVP last year, along with Jeremy Lloyd. Word and Brown, co-tackling leaders through their first 3 games. And in the secondary, Austin and Timmons, both 3-year starters. Russell got 4. And Banks with all kinds of time and all kinds of room to pick up the first down himself across the 25. And let's welcome the 4th member of our crew on the sidelines as always, Michelle Tafoya.
All right, Dave. Well, I spoke with Iowa legend Hayden Fry this week, and he said watching his 2 former assistants, Kirk Ferentz and Dan McCarney, face off is excruciating. But he has a lot of tough weekends because when you consider how many coaches were his assistants, look at them in the Big 12 and the Big 10. So many weekends are difficult for him. Dan McCarney actually started this streak of 4 straight Iowa State wins with a win over Hayden Fry in Fry's last season. But Fry told me, hey, I wasn't bitter about it. I just said, man, I'm a hell of a good teacher.
Came back to bite him. Russell through a huge hole. And another first down. 13 yards. 4th year, Kirk Ferentz anointed to replace Hayden here. 0-3 against Iowa State. And after a rough beginning, he has turned it around. Champions of the Alamo Bowl in San Antonio after last year. And Dan McCarney weathered some rough weather early. Now in his 8th year, 9 and 7 wins the last 2 years. Their best season since 1906, that 9-3 2000, when they knew for sure they had the right man to lead them back. Russell again through 1 tackle, then cut down nicely by Jermaine Billups, a converted running back up from safety.
And what you're going to have to see from that defense for Iowa State is they try and tackle Fred Russell. You're going to have to see the linebackers and probably strong safety make the plays, because this offensive line for Iowa that blocks in front of Fred, I call them stick and stay guys. They stick on their men and they stay on their men and they move them off the ball. So it's going to be incumbent on the strong safety and the backers to make the play on Fred Russell, not 4 and 5 yards down the field, though.
Aaron Greving checks in for the first time this year. In fact, did not play the first 2 games or in spring. Had been listed as the starter. A sprained ankle has made Russell the starter. And here's Greving's first carry to the 44, where it will be 3rd and about 5. Greving, a junior from Ames. Think he gets some flack when he goes
Oh,
back
he
home?
said some people were just really angry at me because I decided to go to Iowa. But he said, I just fell in love with Iowa City. And after hanging around here a couple of days, we can understand.
Well,
sure, Ames is a lovely place, too.
If you're going to leave Ames for Iowa, you have to beat Iowa State. When you go home, you're going to hear about that.
Well, he's been doing that.
Edgar Cervantes now is the lone setback with 3 wideouts on 3rd down. And again, all day for Banks. Incomplete through Cervantes' hands. He got blown up by Jeremy Lloyd.
Well, that's exactly the position Iowa State wants to be in. 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6 plus. Force the pocket pass. Then Iowa State on defense is now dictating. The whole issue of the offense for Iowa is to put themselves in a position for play action or run, and that position was going to be strictly pass. So Iowa State wins the chess match.
And to keep Seneca off the field.
The Hawkeyes may have the best special teams in the country. They lead the nation in net punting. David Bradley, 48 yards net in their first 2 games. This one is only 36, and fair caught by Todd Miller. So Seneca Wallace will go back to work. Iowa State's all-time leader in pass efficiency, who almost upset Florida State on the first weekend of the season. Second possession now, the Cyclones start from their own 20. And Wallace will start from the gun and take an inside give to Rutland. Throw deep, wide open, Danielsen. He will be caught from behind at the 20 by Bob Sanders. 5th yards. Lane Danielsen could not have been more wide open.
Well, you set it up off the play action, get Wallace on the corner. This is prime time Iowa State offense right here because Wallace has a gun for an arm. He loves to get the corner. We'll take a look at Lane getting down the field, fakes it out. Then we got an up after the play action, fools everybody. He is wide open, just gets caught, but that's all set up by the play action, good route running, and the arm strength of Seneca Wallace on the rollout.
Another star former walk-on. Both rosters littered with people like Lane Danielsen. Wallace, gunning complete. Lance Young is inside the 15. And let's check into the studio with Reese Davis.
All right, Dave, measuring stick game for the Buckeyes and the Cougars. Washington State and Ohio State, 18-7 Buckeyes on top. Now, nobody's ever going to confuse Kirk Ferentz with Seneca Wallace, but Craig showing off some wheels. Getting down inside the 5, they marked him down about the 2. Claret took it in from there, and look at this. Nevada, 31-21 in the third over BYU.
Boy, look at that indeed. What we have here, 7-0 Iowa. They scored on their second play from scrimmage. A 46-yard run by Fred Russell. 70,000, almost all in black and gold at Iowa City. And the Hawkeyes have scored a touchdown so far every game.
Make it 3. Change that 2 to 3.
There's Norm Parker, the defensive coordinator, just to the right of your screen in that previous shot. He's the guy that has been sleepless in Iowa City over Seneca.
And a penalty, which makes it 1st and goal from the 7. Illegal hit penalty. Rutland burrowing for about a yard down to Michelle.
You guys just pointed out Norm Parker. He gave me an intriguing analogy for Seneca Wallace. He said Wallace can throw as well running to his left as he can running to his right. He said how many right-handed point guards can drive to their left as well as they can to their right? Defending Seneca Wallace is like guarding Allen Iverson man-to-man, Dave.
Says it all, really. Almost no one can do that.
I wonder how the jumper is though.
2nd down and goal from the 6. Rutland through the middle. Touchdown. Hiawatha Rutland through a huge hole, and the late hit really hurting Iowa, setting up the Cyclones with the 1st and goal.
Well, looks like we've got another fine offensive line here. Zach Butler, number 68, the center, does an excellent job on Big Cole. Look at that, just washed him out of the play. Cole is not easily handled, and that's tough when you have to snap the ball. You can chalk that one up to number 68, Zach Butler.
Adam Beneke ties it up. And the Cyclones show a little poise. Back on their heels after the first 2 snaps of the game, but they have tied it at 7.
ESPN2's presentation of college football brought to you by Smooth Busch Beer and easy drinking Busch Light.
Iowa State answers. The opening touchdown by the Hawkeyes, and they tie it at 7. Already a better start, though, than last year's meeting for Iowa. The first half of that game at Ames, they punted 4 times, missed a field goal, fumbled. So they came out very tight. Well, not the case today. But Iowa State has erased the lead. And Yelp with a high, deep kick down to Lewis at the goal line. And no big return this time for Jamel. Let's check in with Reese Davis.
All right, Dave, Michigan and Notre Dame, the Wolverines. Down by 8 late, John Navarre. Does anybody use a tight end better than Michigan? Benny Joppru for the touchdown. Wolverines need to go for 2 to try to tie it. Navarre throwing. Shane Walton busted up, and then Walton later intercepted a pass to snuff out the last-ditch effort. Ty Willingham, 3-0.
Oh, we got to revive Mike.
Well,
we just lost Mike.
You know, I'm going to tell you something. I talked to Tyron Willingham on a radio show I do with Mike Greenberg during the week as a flag down. And Ty said, I look at the glass.
Just a kicking team. Be a 15-yard penalty, 1st down.
Looks at the glass half full because he said, hey, we're 2-0 and our offense has played maybe a half of football. He said they're going to score, they're going to get it going, and we should be better for it. Opening drive today for Notre Dame, they go down and score a touchdown. Got to be going crazy in South Bend today. Good for Tyron Willingham, fantastic guy. Happy that program. That's a revival of the program, Dave, as you said in the break.
Program maker maybe for Tyrone Willingham. So the face mask, a major, moves it up to the 34. And Banks has not been close to under pressure yet, but he bounces that one, intended for Maurice Brown.
Well, he had him, and that's what you get. Brown was wide open on the crossing route. The running attack, again, 6th in the country for Iowa, will give you play action pass. Banks has to take advantage of those opportunities. Looks like he's holding his thumb there. We'll keep an eye on that, but he had Brown running wide open across the middle of the field and threw it into the dirt.
Grass.
Well, there's dirt underneath the grass, isn't there? It hit the grass so hard, dirt flew up.
Banks with the eye on 2nd down, and to give to Russell. He's had some enormous holes to run through. That one closed quickly after a gain of 6. Mark Timmons up from free safety to get in the way. Well, Dan McCarney, Hawkeye from 72 to 74, team captain as a senior, and an assistant here for 13 years, then with Barry Alvarez 5 years in Wisconsin, now his 8th year.
Dan should have gone
cross-state rival.
He should have gone to Hollywood instead of doing this coaching stuff. He's too good looking as a coaching ball. He doesn't even have a broken nose. Yeah. You like that one.
3rd and 4. And Banks incomplete, and a flag down. Intended for Hinkle. Covered by Ellis Hobbs III.
Boy, I tell you, Banks is holding that thumb an awful lot. We'll check out the penalty. Normally, it's the offhand, the hand not going for the block. That gets in trouble as they confer. Boy, this.
He really took a shot from 33, yeah. Brendan Brown, the weak side linebacker. That's the first time they've got a hit on him. And it's obviously had an effect on an already sore thumb.
Well, that's one way to move the sticks.
Pass interference against the defense. Be a spot foul. Automatic first down.
Boy, the Iowa offense getting a lot of help.
Let's take a look at the coverage and see what the officials saw here. Very often we disagree with the officials, but most of the time they do a good job. Oh yeah, all over his back. Got the arm around him. You just can't get it. Ellis Hobbs is a good player. There's the shot from Brown.
Yep.
Ellis Hobbs was all over the back of the receiver, and you're just not going to get away with that. Hinkle was the guy trying to catch the ball.
So the major face mask, now pass interference, and now Russell again, and upended by Jermaine Billups after a gain of 11.
Now, how about that for O-line blocking?
This is Billy Curry. My son loves this play. This is the inside zone. It's called a stretch play. You'll see zone blocking. Everybody's going to go this way and keep their shoulder pads together. Look at that. That's beautiful. And then a good back like Russell just finds the opening and explodes. That's what he scored on.
Opening. What a huge opening.
Yep.
Gets upended there, but after it's way down the field, he'll take those hits 10 yards down the field.
From the Cyclones 40, Russell again for the cutback alley and tripped up this time by Andy Lightfoot, the right guard.
So what we need to keep an eye on is watch when before the play starts, you're going to see the backs for Iowa 8 yards deep. They're going to get the ball 5 or 6 yards deep on the handoff. So what you need to look for is Iowa State. Are they going to make any penetration? That time they did. If they can make the back for Iowa have to go east and west before they get to the line of scrimmage, a lot of times they're going to win. Iowa State needs to make some penetration because the ball is given so deep in the backfield, so we'll keep an eye on that.
Russell 8 yards deep. They'll try the left side this time, and busting through to run him down, Matt Word from middle linebacker.
And that's an answer. Actually, it looks like it's an outside zone, a stretch play they're running. They may be distinguishing with the play call, but the middle linebacker Word ran through the opening. He saw the opening as soon as the back did, and Mike, that's one of the flaws in lining the back up so deep. Middle linebacker's got a chance to meet him on the other side of the line of scrimmage. You've got to seal the whole thing off.
Well, they'll need 12 on 3rd down. Cervantes is the back next to Banks in the shotgun. And just a 3-man rush against which Banks will keep. Quarterback draw is going to come up about 3 yards shy of the first at the 33. Anthony Forrest, strong safety, along with Word on another tackle. And let's check in with Reese Davis.
It's all about guys named Forrest right now, Dave. SC in Colorado, Forrest Mozart. Block, Forrest, block. It's a special teams masterpiece. Mike Ross recovers, and SC is annihilating the Buffaloes 40-3 in Boulder, and Oregon cruising against the Vandals 51-14. Ontario Smith over 100 yards again.
Wow. Cal first, then USC, Oregon. Huge day for the Pac-10. This is 4th down. They go for it, needing 3. And Banks on the option, I think comes up short by about a foot. Brandon Brown had him. He stretched for the 30 and did not appear to get it. No need for a measurement. Iowa State is held.
Excellent defense. John Skladany must be really proud of the way his men were so disciplined. When you play the option, you don't just make it an easy decision. And it's the hesitation. As the quarterback comes down the line of scrimmage, he's going to option off the outside man. The hesitation here, that's what cost him. He doesn't turn up and explode. Once the quarterback decides he's going to keep the football, and that was the correct read, he's got to become a running back. And that time, Banks didn't put his shoulder down and pour it in there.
Well, Iowa State weathers 2 penalties and takes over on down at their 31. Michael Wagner for Rutland to tailback and pulled backwards by Cole, the defensive tackle, top leader on their defensive line, a senior from Plantation, Florida. 6 sacks as a junior.
Moving back inside after a stint out at DN. He's more of that 2-gapper. He's a guy that's going to eat up some blocks. We saw him get blocked on the touchdown by Iowa State, but he's a guy that should be able to eat up some blocks and keep your linebackers free.
Were you a block eater-upper?
Yeah, couldn't pass rush, so I had to do something.
This time they fake the reverse to Danielsen. And Wallace throwing on target on the run. Jamal Montgomery is going to be close to the first down.
Now you begin to see, of course, you've already seen a little, but you begin to see what the defensive coaches for Iowa fear. Watch these shoulders come square to the line of scrimmage, and then the uncanny accuracy of Seneca Wallace on the run. No rushers near him because he's just too fast. And when he breaks containment and gets outside the middle of the field, that's when the defense is most at risk.
That's why they fear him. 17 of 20 last year. 66%. 5 touchdowns so far this year. Inside give is to Wagner. Quick reacting Jared Claus, the other defensive tackle, opposite Colin Cole. Down to Michelle.
Dave, when Steve Brickey, the offensive coordinator at Iowa State, first arrived in the spring of 2000, defensive line coach Mike Nelson gave him a tape of a junior college quarterback. Brickey said he was looking at about 35 candidates at the time, but when he got the tape of Seneca Wallace, he said, that's the guy, and immediately offered him a scholarship. He said, I'm not so sure this is not a once-in-a-lifetime quarterback, Dave.
Well, he is now. He says he is everything you could ever want in a quarterback. And some misdirection to Wagner into the arms of Derek Hagel, which will set up 3rd and 4.
Well, we've seen a couple times now Iowa playing good disciplined football. Missed tackle there, but the defender in the right spot, and then Pagel coming up and finishing it off. And now you put yourself in a 3rd down and 4 situation. Gotta be scary in this situation with Seneca Wallace. He can play action, he can roll, he can pass, he can run.
But can he hear? First down, Jack Whitver breaking loose to the 32. Breaks the tackle of Antoine Allen, picks up 20.
When you talk to the Iowa State coaches about their receivers, they say it's the deepest part of our team. And the fastest guy is Lane Danielsen. And Lance Young has got the best burst, but something about Whitver, he just makes plays. And here's why they say that. Good concentration on the football, just comes down, rips loose from a tackle, an extra 7-8 yards. Nothing flashy, just great plays.
Another former walk-on. Wallace keeping all the way. And driven out just shy of the first. Let's check it again with Reese.
All right, Dave, BYU and Nevada. Nevada had a 31-14 lead at one point in this game. It's now 31-21. Lance Pendleton in there at quarterback, and he fires one in there to Gabriel Reed for the touchdown. And the Cougars have come all the way back down 3, and they've got the ball again. Tropical storm wreaking havoc all over the country there in the weather delay at the Swamp. Ohio on top of Florida by a field goal.
Well, they should take a picture of the scoreboard even if they aren't a rain delay.
Yep, Lee Corso would. I'll explain that.
Keeping for 8, second down at the 2. And the pile will move forward past the marker, and Wagner will appear to have a first down. Well, tonight, 9:30 Eastern, ESPN2 will have a battle with 2 more great quarterbacks in their teams. Dave Ragone and the Louisville Cardinals visiting Bradley Van Pelt and the Colorado State Rams. College football Saturday here on ESPN2.
When Lee Corso was at Indiana, he got up 6-0 Ohio State. When Woody Hayes was there, he called timeout, took a picture with his team of the score, 6-0. The final score was 62-6. He didn't take no pictures of that.
And they didn't give Wagner enough for the first. Not a very good mark for the Cyclones, and a move on the left side by Casey Shelton. The tackle will make this 3rd down and 6.
This is a situation where the crowd noise can affect you once you start. If you can't hear the quarterback's cadence and you see a little bit of movement on the defensive line, you're going to go.
Prior to the snap, false start, on the offense, 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
And a lot of that is because you could not hear the cadence of Seneca Wallace. Coach McCarney is trying to say, listen, they're jumping over there. Call it on there.
This crowd is not more than about, what, 20 feet?
It looks like an NBA game sitting down there under the basket. I don't know if I'd want to catch one of those big guys if he scores on the fly as a fan.
Wallace floating one deep. Tip, almost caught in the end zone by Danielsen, but Pagel got a hand on it.
Boy, Bill, watching film this week when you and I are watching together, we watched this Pagel kid, the walk-on, doing a fantastic job. A fantastic job.
That is the end of the first quarter. 7-7. Start of the second quarter now. Dan McCarney has a chance to take the lead for the first time. So on 4th down and 6, Adam Beneke is out to try a 46-yarder. 33 his best. He did hit a 50-yarder in junior college. Good snap and hold. And does this one have enough? It did, but it's wide. Normally they go to Tony Yelp for their longer field goal tries. Beneke, 1 quarter. Did the Hawkeyes ever fly early? Second play of the game, Russell broke a 46-yarder. Iowa State came back with an answer, and Hiawatha Rutland tied it.
Right now, they're both sticking with their game plans. Iowa playing some smash mouth football, and Iowa State relying on Seneca Wallace to do a variety of things.
Banks throwing to his left, and a strike to Ed Hinkle. And a 12-yard pickup. You can't throw it any better on the run. Hinkle covered by Hobbs. Fans over there thinking maybe Hobbs hit him late.
Well, what Hinkle did and what makes this play go is it's going to be a fake right rollout to the left. Watch Hinkle. He stops here. Watch where he ends up. It's a comeback. He's going to come back to the quarterback. This is plan. Come back to the ball. It's a good throw by Banks. They know exactly where they want to throw it. It's push the defender up and come back for the ball as Banks rolls out.
Hinkle, the only underclassman starter for this Iowa offense. Redshirt freshman out of Erie, Pennsylvania. From the 40, Greving, working his way back from the ankle. And a gain of about 3, tackled by Jordan Karstens. So now that they had Grebbing back, their leading rusher from a year ago, as far as returnees, of course, Liddell Betts led the 4 straight years, but is now gone. And so Grebbing, the tops among the returnees. Russell at 160 yards per game, and then the sophomore Jamel Lewis at 6.5 yards per carry so far. So basically, whoever Banks hands it to can do damage. 2 tight ends on 2nd and 7. Grebbing looks for a hole and leads to about the 48. 3rd down from there. Well, tomorrow night, the Pittsburgh Steelers defense will have to be at its best to slow Rich Gannon, Tim Brown, Jerry Rice, and the Oakland Raiders offense. Jerome Bettis and Cordell Stewart looking to provide a little offense of their own for the Steelers in the latest edition of this rivalry that dates back to some classics from the 1970s. Our coverage begins with NFL Primetime, presented by Miller Lite at 7:30 Eastern. And in this Hawkeye State rival, Iowa State and Iowa 7 apiece early in the 2nd quarter. On 3rd and 2, Banks another strike. Maurice Brown with the catch and needed that stretch to get to the 1st down marker, and I think he just did.
And I'll tell you, Banks is really impressing with his accuracy. He's had 1 or 2 bad passes, but what Iowa has done is to come out and throw the ball on 1st down and ended up with 3rd and shorts, which is exactly what they want. This time they throw it on 3rd and short. Nice job by the receiver to stretch it out and make the 1st down. That's C.J. Jones, number 8, tackled by Mark Timmons.
8.7 yards the last 65 1st down plays on average. That looks like it just can't be. Banks tried to set up a screen, and it was almost an easy interception for Anthony Forrest. Tyson Smith racing in and was all over Banks.
That was ugly. I know you're supposed to let some pressure in on a screen, but the pressure came quick for Banks, and when the guy you're throwing to is covered as well, that's a whole lot of trouble. Brandon Brown, 33, is going to end up in man coverage right here on the back. He does a nice job staying with the back. That's going to take the screen away. Nowhere to go.
Yeah, they are really lucky that one didn't go all the way back. Tom Arnold knows that. Hawkeye lover that he is. 2nd and 10. Dallas Clark, the tight end, went in motion. Russell back in. Holds like that every time he has taken it through the middle. And another 11-yard gain. Another tackle by Billups in the secondary.
65, Ben Sobieski, the right guard, along with that reliable center, Bruce Nelson. Again, beautiful blocking in the middle, inches from a touchdown.
Great job. The backs are getting to the secondary, and now it's their job to get the extra yards. The balance by Russell gets them 5, 6 extra yards. They try and take him out low. He's low to the ground as it is. At 5'8", you're going to have to go pretty low to take his legs out. He curls up like a bowling ball and gets an extra 5 or 6 yards.
I'll tell you, he's a rock physically.
Yes, he is.
We met him yesterday. He has really been in that weight room.
Iowa timeout. Russell 5'8", 177, averaging 10 yards per carry so far. 9 carries, 90 yards. We are tied early in the 2nd quarter. Well, the news came Wednesday that we had lost maybe the greatest ever to play quarterback. Johnny Unitas passed away at the age of 69 of a heart attack. Still has records that may never be broken, including 47 consecutive games with a touchdown pass. Bill Curry did the blocking for him for a lot of years in the 60s. And it was a very difficult week for anybody who ever knew him, especially anybody who ever played with him. Russell on the carry. Russell up the sideline and knocked out by Hobbs, or he would have had another touchdown. Now, Bill, having been as close as you were, the center quarterback relationship, I know this was a very difficult piece of news for you.
As difficult as I can recall for a friend to have been lost. If I live to be 1,000, I'll never forget what it felt like to step in the huddle and look at those steel eyes across from me every time. The one thing we knew is that our leader knew where we were going and how to get us there. If I could tell one brief story about John, and that's all the time we have, and I have to be brief, but it would be My first year in Baltimore in 1967 was his 13th year. It was also Raymond Berry's 13th year. And after 5 hours of 2-a-day practices, both practices in pads with Don Shula in 100 degrees, I would trudge up the hill, take my gear off, take my shower, walk out, look down at that field where we were losing the light at dusk, and there'd be 2 people still throwing pass patterns. And that, folks, is how you get into the Hall of Fame. God bless you, John. We'll miss you. We'll never forget you.
Finally figure out how to deal with Russell. Slipping through Nick Leaders, true freshman nose guard out of Omaha.
United we stand. Well, that's, I was not around when he was really in his heyday, or I was too young. But so I grew up with some different quarterbacks, but certainly seeing the footage, he is. We talked about this on the radio show as well, that Jerry West is the logo for the NBA, and we had a lot of listeners call in and say that if there was a logo for the NFL, that it would be Johnny Unitas.
It would. It should.
You say flat top and high tops, you're going to have to say the name. 3rd and 11 into the end zone for Jones, and incomplete, and completely covered up that time by Hobbs.
Well, back to the rivalry we go, and Banks down. We saw him holding his thumb earlier. This one he comes up limping. He's been taking some shots today. Great coverage by Hobbs down the field. So again, we'll keep an eye on Banks. Again, he's already had the thumb problem. Let's see where he takes a shot. What happens here? Gets rolled on right in that left knee and ankle area by Brandon Brown. Ill afford to lose Brad Banks.
Iowa has not missed a placement all year. Nate Kaeding is 5 for 5. This is a 40-yarder, and he is still perfect. Iowa back in front, 10:34 to go in the first half.
ESPN2's presentation of college football brought to you by Kia Motors, makers of a full line of quality cars backed by a 10-year warranty program.
Hawkeyes 10-7. Kaeding, who has now hit 9 straight field goals going back to last year's Alamo Bowl, buries this one deep to Lance Young. Let's check in with Reese Davis.
Dave, Georgia and South Carolina.
Boy, that first touchdown shades of Roy Williams against Texas last year. Cyclones with Michael Wagner in the backfield from their 20. And Wallace on the sprint. Throwing deep for Danielsen, who had DJ Johnson on his back, but no flag.
Should have been a flag.
Danielsen would like to know why there's no flag.
Clearly should have been a flag. Had he not been carrying about 200 pounds on his back, he would have run right into that football and caught it. This is clearly pass interference.
I mean, not even close.
Seneca Wallace is saying the same thing. He's saying, Bill's saying it up in the booth. It's interference. Throw the flag.
That's an unbelievable, terrible mistake by the officials. Unbelievable.
Big 12 through here. 2nd down and 10. Rutland and Wagner together. On either side of Wallace. And Rutland does well to stretch back to the 19. We want to extend our deepest appreciation to the men, women, and children who are standing by their families serving in the United States Navy and Marine Corps at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. Thank all of you for watching ESPN and ESPN2 on the American Forces Network.
We know they're doing a ton of work down there. We hope they're able to enjoy this game. No, we are. Certainly appreciate what they're doing.
everybody. We apologize for the technical difficulties we're having from Iowa City. Iowa and Iowa State locked up in a good one. We are working hard to try to get those straightened out for you, and we'll get you back out there for the battle for the Cy-Hawk Trophy just as quickly as we possibly can. Oregon's a team that really hasn't played up to Coach Mike Belotti's expectations. Taking on Idaho today, Bellotti said he saw far too many loafs in the game against Fresno State last week, and he didn't care who the opponent was. It was more important how the Ducks played today. Oregon played pretty well. Now, Idaho's 0-3, but a 58-21 victory for the Ducks. Ontario Smith going for over 100 yards, scored 3 touchdowns again. Jason Fife was awfully good. Michigan and Notre Dame, a showdown in South Bend. It was a sloppy game at times. Each of these two teams turned the ball over 4 times apiece. The Fighting Irish winning 25-23. Ty Willingham becomes the first coach since Dan Devine in '75 to open his Fighting Irish career 3-0. We seem to have our technical problems resolved. Back to Iowa State.
All right, Reese, thanks for filling in a couple of plays. 34-yard punt by Yelch. And Iowa will set up in great shape to midfield. Banks said to be okay after limping off. I guess so. Touchdown straight. Oh! Maurice Brown, 50 yards.
When we talked to John Skladany, the defensive coordinator for Iowa State, he said our greatest fear is the ball control game and the play action deep ball. The ball was almost dropped by Maurice Brown, but he managed to hem it up, and that makes somebody really happy who laid it out there perfectly, Mr. Brad Banks.
Kaeding for a 10-point Hawkeye lead. Ateef Austin, the man beaten in single coverage, and Banks laid it out perfectly for Maurice Brown.
Absolute setup here. The whole play shifted to the right with Banks rolling, and was all set up one-on-one on the top of the screen. That's where they were going the entire play. No matter how good the coverage was or bad, that's exactly where Banks was throwing. Brown does a nice job pulling away.
Now the corner, Ateef Austin, has the job of keeping inside leverage on the receiver, Maurice Brown. When he loses the inside, he is dead in the water if the ball is thrown well, and it certainly was. That post is the toughest thing. The receiver has the entire field to work with. If you don't get pressure on the quarterback, and if you don't keep inside leverage on the receiver, that's a touchdown.
I guess maybe that's Brad Banks saying, Mr. Seneca Wallace, I know you're getting a lot of the press, but I can throw the ball pretty well myself.
That was first down, Mike. That's 5 or 6 times today that Iowa has thrown the ball on first down, which is to break their tendency of run, run, run all the time.
And they've had 2 touchdown drives, totaling 3 plays. First time they got it, they scored in 2 plays. Now they score in 1.
A lot of Gatorade breaks that way.
Kick up 17-7, and another one that will not be returned by Lance Young down to Michelle.
Dave, Brad Banks has been described to us by everyone at Iowa as a very quiet guy, the kind of guy who you rarely know what he's thinking. Guess what he was thinking after throwing that touchdown pass? This is hardly the mild-mannered quarterback we've heard about. He has quiet confidence, but he's also able to celebrate the great throw on first down, Dave.
Boy, can you blame him?
Everybody said how quiet he was. Boy, I think he just broke out of his shell.
I hope he didn't throw his shoulder out of the socket. That made my shoulder hurt.
Well, Seneca Wallace will have to live up to his billing now. Come into a 10-point hole. Hit just as he gets that one off, and Rutland leading his way past Johnson and fights hard to get near the 30-yard line.
Even though that turns out to be a big gain for Iowa State, as we see the hit on Wallace. I'll tell you why you get a hit on Wallace, because of great coverage down the field. This is the last option for Wallace to go to. He's looking downfield. Rutland is the last man he wants to throw to. He can't because of the coverage by Iowa.
And Howard Hodges was a split second away from a sack of Wallace. Not many get close enough to get a sack on Seneca. Again, well protected. Whitver with the catch. Hit immediately by Pagel. First down, Iowa State, and back comes Iowa State. We'll see two more pretty good signal callers tonight. Dave Bergone, Bradley Van Pelt, Louisville, Colorado State. 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific here on ESPN2. $70,397 as usual capacity Kinnick Stadium. Most of them happy, all but about 2,500 or so in Cardinal and Dole. Wallace again to the air. Danielsen. Anquan Allen wrapping him up, another gain of 15 yards.
Now, when we talked about what the Iowa defensive staff, head by Norm Parker, feared the most, we talked about Wallace getting outside containment. He's standing back there in the pocket and cutting them to ribbons right now, throwing the ball as a pocket passer, so he can do it all.
And as elusive as he is, everybody says he thinks of himself as a passer first. Mostly today. He's gone through the air. Again, plenty of time. Now Keats. And hit really hard twice at the 35-yard line. Kevin Worthy, Howard Hodges had him at a sandwich. Back on August 24th at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. Iowa State looked to be left for dead against a Florida State team that broke open to a 24-0 lead. Wallace had other ideas. He will revisit that near miss after 2nd and 4. And again, Hodges with pressure and thrown way high, intended for Danielsen. Down 38-31. Here is how close Wallace came to tying up Florida State at the end.
And bear in mind, they had been behind.
Wallace steps up, runs out of the pocket, runs it upfield at the 10, to the outside, 5, diving. No, he's not in. He's at the 1. Out of bounds with 4 seconds to go.
They will still tell you at Ames he was in.
And they were down 24-0. What I was trying to say a moment ago. And came back.
Stopped at the 1 on the final play. Chased here by Fabian Dodd. Looking for a block. Run down to the open field by George Lewis. And that's about as well as you can ask a defense to contain Seneca Wallace.
Boy, Fabian Dodd had him to the outside, and this is the problem you have when you're defending Iowa State. You defend everybody, you can't account for the quarterback. Dodd is there. Keaton to your inside. Fabian does not. He scoots around. This is where he should have turned it up and gone north and south. I think a little mistake there by Seneca Wallace. You see how close you are to the sticks. Turn it up the field to get it.
Maybe you could work with Seneca on his running techniques.
Well, I didn't mean that.
Yeah, let's work with him.
Wallace all day and finally finds Whitver. At the 21, he caught him. Needed 2, got 12. Now that had to be difficult with that much time to fight the urge to run, and he probably could have picked it up had he run.
That's just the poise of all great quarterbacks. He stood in there so long, it was bound to find somebody.
I love watching this kid throw the ball on the tape, and in this game, he's only 5'10". He's not a big kid, but he stays in the pocket. He's got a gun for arm. He throws it well on the run. He throws a tight spiral, spins it well, the term you tell me. He does a great job heaving the ball.
After the fake to Rutland, he will keep here and get tripped up. Michelle has some more on Seneca.
Well, you guys, we all talked to Steve Bricky, the offensive coordinator. He remembers that when Seneca Wallace came to his first spring practice, Bricky went into the locker room and said, wow, this guy has a chance. And 3 games into the season against Baylor, Wallace completed 18 passes in a row. He was 22 of 24 on the day, 4 touchdowns. Bricky said, all I know is he keeps the chains moving.
18 straight, not only a Big 12 record, they went back, checked the old Big 8 and Southwest Conference record books, and nobody in either of the old conferences had thrown 18 straight completions. Wallace hanging one up. That one is going to be picked off in the end zone by Allen, and he'll turn and run it out. Oh, gets it into the hands of Bob Sanders, who reaches
Now, how in the world do we describe that? That's hard to teach.
I'm going to tell you something. If he pitched the ball in the end zone, I didn't get a good look if he pitched it or not, but Seneca Wallace just throws it up. 2 receivers on that side. There's a blitz going on, so he's just going to hang it up there. He hangs it up and gives the defense time to react to it. We see the interception. Does he pitch it?
No, he has it.
Oh, we got a hit. Okay, thank you.
He doesn't know why that ball came out. Lane Danielsen knocked the ball out, and it could have very easily been a touchdown for Iowa State. Instead, it went the other way.
If he had pitched that ball, they need to be running the wishbone, and he needs to be the quarterback. Russell, dragged down by Matt Word. Russell at the 37-yard line, picks up 5, one of his shortest gains of the day.
Now, this is 0 coverage, meaning there's no free safety. Where does that guy come from? Number 20 left his man, Antoine Allen, because his man hooked up. That was Danielsen. He breaks. Seneca Wallace did not expect him to be back there, and that's the reason he threw it up. He thought he had the touch. Nice defensive reaction by Allen.
Amazing how great players are always around the ball. That Sanders was there. Russell keeps on going. Looked like he was stopped short of the first down. You look up, he's got that plus 5 more yards.
I talk about trying to get penetration. They blitzed, and they did not penetrate, so there's no second level. Russell gets through, and then again, we talk about the balance. Look how low he is to the ground. You hit him in the hip, he's not going down. Look at that balance. Puts a hand on the ground. That is incredible running right there.
Barry Sanders stuff.
That's fantastic. And all at the second level. He's rarely getting hit at the line of scrimmage. And again, he's getting the ball 6 yards deep.
13 carries, 116 yards, and a touchdown already for Ed Russell. So why not try him again? Oh, it's the only way to get him. Aim low, hang on, as Jermaine Billups did. Michelle.
Well, Fred Russell, not only is he running well, look at him. He's smiling. He gets up from almost every run and either giggles or smiles. It's just a riot to watch him down here on the sideline. He is having so much fun out there.
I'd giggle, too, if I wasn't getting hit to the linebackers or safeties. Boy, I tell you, great blocking up front.
Jamel Lewis in. And the fake is to him. Banks pulls up. Forward to Eric Jensen. Tight end breaks the tackle by Billups. He's dragged down by Lloyd at the 15. 25 yards. Bill, when I say yamped, what does that mean to you?
Yards after missed tackles. And Iowa State aims to have less than 25 yards per game. I would say that they are way over that in this game. If we had been calculating, I'll bet you we're up around 100 because there have been too many broken tackles. Iowa is physically stronger than Iowa State thus far.
Iowa averaging over 10.5 yards per first down today. Cervantes drives those legs forward, picks up 5. Now here is exactly what we're talking about, the yards after missed tackles today.
How about our brilliant technical guys? We have been gauging it. 71 yards. I'm surprised. I would think that it was more than that, but that's way over Iowa State's goal. Somebody's doing a great job with the strength and conditioning on this Iowa squad. Of course, Iowa State famous for that as well.
Rod a second and short. 2nd and 5 this time. Motion from Dallas Clark. And Lewis threw a huge hole. Lewis to the end zone.
There's no other way to say it except the big guys with the black shirts on are flat whooping the guys with the white shirts on. Bruce Nelson and company, Eric Steinbach, 65, Andy Lightfoot, 70, are just absolutely knocking the guys from Iowa State off the ball, and the backs are running as they please.
Almost untouched. play after play after play. Kaeding for the extra point and a 17-point Iowa lead. Marker down, however. Marker down in the end zone on the PAT.
This is an incredible display of running the ball. I said at the top of the show that the offensive line for Iowa could be the difference of this game. They could control the game, and that's exactly what they're doing. Talk to Eric Steinbach, one of their guards.
We have a dead ball, personal foul on the defense. We're penalized 15 yards on the kickoff.
I'll finish the point on the O-line and the strength of this Iowa team when we come back.
Chris Doyle needs to take a bow today. Strength and conditioning on display for the Hawkeyes. A 20. Well, Dan McCarney not only down 17 points, but may have a player or two losing some composure with a personal foul on the PAT marked off on the kick, which means it'll come from midfield. And Kaeding has driven the last couple way deep into the end zone. And in fact, I think he split the uprights on that one from 60 yards. Well, now, on the PAT, watch for a punch by Matt Word, number 7.
Yeah, he's a senior. He's a little frustrated right now. We'll let the play run here. We'll see. Just keep watching him. The play keeps going. He's going to throw a punch there right in the face and get himself a little flag. A little frustration right now out of the senior.
Didn't even hurt the guy.
No.
I mean, Michael, I'm sure you'd say if you're going to punch the guy,
you're going to make him. You're going to get 15, make it worthwhile.
No, that's,
I know.
That's not. I brought it up this time. I shouldn't have. I shouldn't have started you. I stand corrected.
Cyclones start with a very unsuccessful draw play to Rutland, and they'll check in with Reese Davis about what he has for us at halftime.
Well, Dave, coming up at halftime, you guys are seeing the Big Ten give a good accounting of itself. Not so in East Lansing today. The Pac-10 ruled the day there. Miami sort of sleptwalked for a little while against Temple. Michigan and Notre Dame came right down to the wire. We'll break it all down at halftime.
All right, and on balance, Big Ten needing some help today. Iowa's providing it here. Wallace is throwing the run, caught. Terrific catch. Terrific concentration by Hiawatha Rutland.
Now, I don't have to tell you, folks, there's some hitting going on down there. There's some people want to win this game. Derek Pagel, 25, is the free safety. Yet another of the former walk-ons. And I'm partial to those guys that walk on for football. They do a great job. Watch this lick. Great concentration to keep the football by Hiawatha.
Good time for Iowa on the clock. If they don't move the chains, then they will. Whitver driven down by Allen at the 42-yard line. They pick up another third down with an 18-yard strike from Wallace.
Great arm strike out of Wallace. And speaking of strength, we go back to Iowa. Chris Doyle, their strength coach. I talked to him for quite a while yesterday, and they talk about leg strength now for his defensive and offensive players and special teamers that help them carry through the games. You see that on leg drive on the offensive line and that defensive line getting penetration.
Back to the air, and this one is incomplete. It is ruled an incompletion through the hands of Montgomery. Now they're going to confer. We may see this change to a catch and a fumble. No, incomplete. Down to Michelle.
Dave, with a minute 17 to go in the half, you've got to look at the score, 24-7, because in the last 12 meetings, 12 straight meetings, the team leading at halftime has won if they've been leading at half. This may mean the end of Iowa State's 4-game winning streak over the Hawkeyes, Dave.
Well, not many have been 17-point halftime leads either. How close was this to a catch and a fumble?
Never controlled it.
Yeah, you look for it to be into the body and controlled. Didn't look like it was.
Good call, and you saw Kirk Ferentz angrily call timeout.
I'll say this one more time. 24-0, this team from Iowa State was behind Florida State in the kickoff classic.
But missed tackles and yardage thereafter continue to be a big story.
Low center of gravity, leg strength we talked about with their strength coach. O-line moving people out. You cannot arm tackle these backs. They're too strong. Defensive linemen have to be able to get off the offensive linemen, but these O-linemen have great leg drive from their strength. Very strong, as we see. Yards after the missed tackle, 71. Cannot arm tackle. Now, athletes are too good nowadays, Bill, to be arm tackling.
You arm tackle, you get a dislocated shoulder. These backs are running about 100 miles an hour, and they're about 6 inches off the ground.
Yeah.
Just imagine hitting something like that.
That's why I'm up here now.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's like tackling a doggone sled out of control going down a hill.
Second down and 10 from their 42. Iowa State has all 3 of its timeouts. And Wallace going deep. Danielsen overthrown this time. He continues to get so open so often.
I'm really surprised that Iowa State is not using Wallace on the corner more. They're sitting him in the pocket, and he's a fairly accurate passer back there. But what terrorizes opposing defenses, especially Norm Parker, is to have him out on the corner so that he can run or throw, and he's even more accurate out there. I'm a little surprised at the strategy by Steve Rickey here, the offensive coordinator for Iowa State.
10 of 18, 171 through the air. He's kept it 5 for 22 yards. Looking to throw against a 4-man rush on 3rd and 10. Won't get time. Sacked by Cole.
Great coverage again by Iowa. They were in a cover 2 zone coverage. They all just hung back, gave that line and Cole a chance to get a great pass rush. This is what you call a coverage sack. Wallace didn't look like he was really ready for the snap for that play to start. Great coverage down the field, giving that D-line enough time to make their penetration. And you get a sack on Seneca Wallace, you'd be happy you got him and caught him.
You're not kidding.
Iowa has used its last timeout. They'll have somewhere around a minute or so.
There's where the big guys up front on defense go back to the secondary and say, thank you.
Yep.
You gave me 6 seconds to get to that guy. I believe I can get there if you'll give me that much time every time. They are playing a loose zone. They're dropping 7, and they're really giving Wallace trouble reading the coverage from sitting back there.
You know, what's happening in the zone, and we'll have a chance to illustrate it a little later when we see, is in the zone, you want to try and find the holes in the defense. Right now, the Iowa State receivers are running through the holes in the zone instead of checking up, stopping maybe for those curl routes, and let Seneca hit it right on a dime, right at 12 or 15 yards.
And Hinkle's back to catch this punt. His confidence has improved during this game in handling the ball.
They are coming after Yelk, and they almost get him. Iowa State bounce out of bounds at the 28. 49 seconds still for Iowa, and as they've shown, that's plenty of time for them to score. Seneca Wallace has some decent numbers, especially through the air, but overall looks up at that scoreboard and sees what he has to do in the second half. Well, he's done it once, Bill, as you pointed out, from an even bigger deficit against Florida State. Iowa with 49 seconds to go. They have scored on drives of 1 and 2 plays already in this first half. Tomorrow night, the Pittsburgh Steelers defense against the Oakland Raider offense. A matchup to watch. Rich Gannon against Cordell Stewart. Tim Brown and Jerry Rice and Jerome Bettis on display for Sunday Night Football. All beginning with NFL Primetime presented by Miller Lite at 7:30 Eastern. ESPN at ABC, your exclusive home for primetime football.
Pittsburgh can not let the floodgates get them go 0-2.
Blown out Monday night by New England. Russell on 2nd and 9. A typical Fred Russell gain here in this first half. 16 more yards. He has carried it 16 times for 145.
Wow. Russell is a serious load. When I saw him yesterday morning, Mike, I came in and said, you know what? This guy is so well constructed. He has such muscularity. He obviously has the athletic skill to go with it.
And they'll settle for that. 24-7, a halftime lead for Iowa, looking to end a run of 4 straight losses to their cross-state rivals. So we send you back to Reese Davis in the studio.
And Dave, Fred Russell's second in the nation in rushing coming in. He might be #1 by the end of the night if he keeps this up. An impressive performance by Kirk Ferentz's team. Glad to have you with us. Reese Davis along with Mark May here.
Iowa with a commanding 24-7 lead as we get set for the start of the second half. He's been set for a while.
He thinks he made a tackle. He won't find out till tomorrow he didn't play. I love those guys. They think they belong when you're ahead.
It's really good, bro.
Thank you.
Wind has picked up a little bit. It was only 6 miles an hour at the start. And this should be well at the back of Nate Kaeding for the second half kickoff. It is whipping up pretty good all of a sudden now. We stay dry, supposedly 70% chance of rain today. Not so far. Kaeding bounces it low. And it's Young. Out to the 25. And our ESPN2 game track through the... Boy, were there holds for Fred Russell, especially officially 133 yards, 15 carries. He went 46 yards on the second play of the game to score. And a lot of those yards came after missed Iowa State tackles. Jamel Lewis with a touchdown run after contact. So Seneca Wallace with a 17-point deficit as he begins from his 25-yard line with a play fake. And Jamal Montgomery with the catch close to the first down. Well, no one has had more influence on football in this state of Iowa than Hayden Fry. And this has got to be, I mean, obviously you're a Hawkeye at heart, but you look down there and you see your 2 former assistants coach. Is it a little bit like watching Randy Fry coach against Kelly Fry? I mean, is it like your sons? Who do you root for?
You remember that because you went to school with them, Dave. Yeah, this is really hard on me. I don't want to see Dan or Kirk lose the ball game, and obviously one of them's going to lose today. But this looks like old times the way the Hawks got started the first half.
What a staff you had. Did you have a notion early on of the potential you had with people like Barry Alvarez and Bill Snyder and Bob Stoops and these two?
Well, they were great assistant coaches for me, but you never know how an assistant coach is going to be as a head coach until he gets his feet wet. And fortunately, every one of those people have turned out to be great.
You know what they say when we talk to them? Invariably, we learned to coach because we did not want to let Hayden down. Now, I can't imagine a higher compliment from coaches that are that excellent.
Well, that's very nice of you, Bill. And, you know, I love every one of them like my sons. And the reason we won, we were like a family. We were very close. And to see them become successful head coaches now keeps this old-timer going.
Wallace keeping up to the 40 on the option. Well, Michelle had a chance to spend some time on the phone with you, and she's down below.
Yeah, Hayden, I sure did. And I just talked to Dan McCarney coming off the field, and he said that he reminded his team about the Florida State game when they trailed. And I know he spoke to you just before that game and said he takes a piece of you with him on the sideline every game. So I'm sure you expect his team to put up a good fight here in the second half.
Well, I certainly do, and it's great to hear your voice again, Michelle.
Likewise.
And, Dan McCarney will do a great job the second half. The Hawks better keep their headgear screwed on tight.
Second down and 5. Montgomery with the catch at near midfield.
With all the coaches that you sent out on their way to become head coaches, how do you watch them now? Do you just sit back and enjoy it all, or are you still coaching them when you see them play? You say, oh, you shouldn't have done that. Oh, you should have done this.
Well, frankly, I've been keeping it low-key here at the University of Iowa. This is only my second game to see this year, probably the last one I'll see this year. But I have 3 televisions and an entertainment center, and I watch 3 games at one time.
You got 3 remotes?
3 remotes so that I can select players to go to the Hula Bowl on Maui.
Oh, that's right.
So I have to evaluate the players, and that keeps me close to the game without getting directly involved.
Wallace late pitch on the option to Rutland. Well, when you look at the Hayden Fry coaching tree, there is a pretty impressive list of former players and assistants. Of course, here, Coach Ferentz and McCarney, Barry Alvarez, Bill Snyder, Bob Stoops, Mike Stoops, coordinator at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
When I went to Georgia Tech as a young head coach, Hayden, I had my legend there with me, Bobby Dodd. And so I asked him after about 2 years to come in and critique me on Monday mornings. He walked in one Monday morning with 44 mistakes I made in one game. After this play, I want you to tell us if any of your guys have ever asked you to do that.
Wallace on 2nd and 8, rolling left this time. And that is no problem for him as he demonstrates again. Throwing against his momentum to Danielsen for 13.
Well, I wanted to add Don Patterson, the head coach at Western Illinois, and John Austin, the head coach at South Dakota, and Jerry Moore, the head coach at Appalachian State. And, of course, guys like Bum Phillips have already retired. So we've got quite a few out there.
Yeah, but you didn't answer my question.
No, I didn't.
So they hadn't asked you to.
Statue of Liberty or whatnot for somebody. We haven't seen that yet. Are we going to see it from these two?
Well, I asked Coach Ferentz if he'd run an exotic for me early in the game, and the first play of the game, they threw a pass. And
that was exotic.
And that was an exotic for Coach Ferentz.
Well, they've thrown a lot on first down. Don't you think that's been significant in helping to run the ball?
And breaking the tendencies.
Yeah.
You bet.
So far, the drive Iowa State needed. They have reached the 17 in his first possession of the second half. And another quick toss. Whitver turns it up to the 6. And from there should be 1st and goal. It is a gain of 11.
Well, in the midst of this beautiful drive, I want to ask Hayden one serious question. Another thing that's a legacy in the programs of the coaches that you coached and trained, their players graduate. There's an emphasis on academics. We walked in the Iowa locker room the other day, and the goal board was up, and the first goal was increase the GPA of our football team.
Exactly. Well, we've always been that way, and that's what going to college is all about. As you know, Bill, is getting a good education. They can't play football all their life.
Well, we don't hear enough about those great things in college reporting.
Flag down as Rutland fights hard for a yard.
Do you think it's stressed enough today? I know you did, and you certainly passed that along, but do you think it has the same emphasis today it did years back?
Well, probably more so, because the NCAA has done a wonderful job, and the American Football Coaches Association, and trying to put the priorities in order. Number one is education. And that, along with changing the rules to help protect the young men from a safety standpoint, we've made great strides.
Offsides Iowa is going to move it up to the 3. And from there, 1st and goal. Methodic first drive of the second half. Wallace has been perfect through the air. 2 tight ends and a late option pitch. Barely got it off that time. The Rutland is swarmed for a loss.
Now, Hayden, when you see something like that, he comes out from under there stumbling and still pitching the ball. Does your heart jump in your throat and you say, oh, no, I would never let him do that?
Dan's got to tell him to hold on to it when he does that. Seneca Wallace, as you know, is a great athlete. I've got to try to get him to the Hula Bowl.
Well, I'll help you. Since we get to do the Hula Bowl, if you need any help recruiting, the 4 of us will sure talk to him.
Just inside the 5 now. 2nd and goal. Option the other way. This time fakes the toss, keeps, touchdown, Iowa State.
I think it's very significant that while we're up here talking to the maestro that has trained these coaches, his coach who was down has just gotten his team back in the game. Don't you think, Hayden?
No question about it.
Is this about as good a goal line play as there is?
I think, you know, that's one tendency I didn't care if the other team knew, because that's what we did on the goal line and short yardage out in the field. Most of my quarterbacks couldn't run too fast.
He sure did a number on Bob Sanders, that little fake pitch.
Kinnick adding the extra point, and Iowa State back into it. Hayden Fry, always great to see you and talk with you. Thank you very much.
Dave, I want to compliment you and your crew. You guys do a beautiful job of football.
We have a great time at it. Hayden Fry with us here in Iowa City. Well, it was a must that Iowa State come out and show a little different temperament than they did in the first half. And they did. Seneca Wallace 5 of 5, 62 yards through the air on the drive, and kept for the touchdown to bring them back within 10. Yelled quite a kick into the wind, too. And they'll start after the touchback.
Well, this is a way to come out of the locker room. You know, Iowa going in with that big lead, maybe feeling good about themselves, but as you pointed out, Bill, you come down from 24 zip back on Florida State. You know they have the ability, especially with this guy at quarterback who can roll, stand in the pocket, or do this, run the option. They came out ready to go, and this is what he's done in the pocket and rolling out. He's dangerous. A lot of times you don't account for the quarterback breaking out and running, and when he does, he's usually successful.
You're exactly right.
Crowd very quiet for really the only time tonight as Russell again gets some yardage after the first contact, picks up about 6, and we check in with Reese Davis.
All right, Dave, one of the exciting young quarterbacks in all of America as far as pure drawback passer, Derek Anderson from Oregon State against UNLV, already up 16-0. Oregon State getting a second touchdown pass of the night from Anderson, finding Ewis there, and they are rolling over UNLV. Oklahoma and UTEP, Sooners up by a couple of touchdowns. This is about the third game we've seen today suspended due to weather concerns right now.
Well, here, 2nd down and 4, and Jamel Lewis has checked in for Russell. And still ready to throw. And with good protection, hits C.J. Jones across the middle. Out of bounds at the 40. Gain of 14. 70,000 plus sold out Kinnick Stadium. Iowa City, 50th meeting between Iowa State and the University of Iowa. For 43 years, between 1934 and 1977, the bad blood in this state was so thick they did not play. But 25 years ago, they renewed this rivalry. And Iowa State working on a 4-game win streak over the Hawkeyes. 24-7 Iowa at the half. Iowa State had an impressive drive to begin this second half. Lewis, who had a touchdown in the second quarter, picks up 3 after being hit at the line down in Michelle Tafoya.
Dave, I spoke to Dan McCarney coming out of the locker room before this second half, and he was most disappointed in his defense and their inability to make tackles. He said, we've missed more tackles in the first half than we did in our first 3 games. He was so animated. It's cool and breezy out here, but coming out of the locker room, he was actually dripping with sweat. So plain and simple, he has asked his defense just to be more physical and make their tackles. Pretty easy, right, Coach Curry?
Yeah, it's easy to talk about. Very good report and accurate, Michelle.
Banks lost it as he brought it back to pass, and Billups hops on it at the 32-yard line. It just slipped out of Brad Banks' hand.
I was just about to say that this is a critical defensive series for Iowa State, and the last thing that one would have expected from watching the poise of this young man, Brad Banks, is a mistake like this. I don't know if he got a wet football. Sometimes you do, and it just comes out of your hand. In addition, he has the bad thumb. Thank you, Dave. Yes, maybe that thumb is affecting his grip on the football, but something certainly did. And Johnny on the spot. A lot of big plays today by Jermaine Billups.
And watch, after a turnover, a lot of times the offense will go for a big play.
Right.
Kyle knocked the tight end in motion. And Hiawatha Rutland with a flag down. Wow, what a hit by Bob Sanders. And that was what his coach, Norm Parker, was talking about. He says, without question, Bob Sanders is the best hitter he has ever been around. That includes people like Dixon Edwards and Percy Snow from his days at Michigan State.
And Hiawatha Rutland now agrees.
I'm going to tell you, that was a hit. That's what you call butting somebody in the mouth. That is a way to hit somebody.
Well, a flag, but no indication.
Well, they're going to measure for the first and see if it's a first down before. So they decide what to do. But what an absolute hit by Sanders.
They'll probably decline the penalty now, but it must be against Iowa.
Offside on the defense. Penalty is declined. The play got a first down.
Oh, that is just flat backing somebody, hitting right, driving through the chest, flat back and driving. That's an excellent hit.
Sanders says losing to Iowa State is the worst feeling I have ever felt in my life, and aims not to feel that again tonight. Rutland backing his way. near another first down at the 13-yard line. Knocked down by DJ Johnson.
Well, I'm going to tell you what this is going to do. They only had 21 yards on 15 rushes in the first half. You see great athletic ability here by Rutland, jumping over the top of Jared Claus. But what they're doing now, they're getting successful with the running game. And I tell you what, gang, that is going to open up that play-action pass for Seneca Wallace. And here's, again, our boy Sanders coming in for the shot.
And a missed tackle by Sanders, which is so uncharacteristic, second and short. And I'll tell you this, you've got to admire Hiawatha Rutland. He's a guy who scores touchdowns and he comes right back on the field and covers the kickoffs. And he just delivered a message to Sanders, hey, I can hit too, buddy.
Rutland's had a career high in each of his first 3 games this year. One after another, 138 last week. Not much yet today. Rutland again. And steps out of a missed tackle down to the 8, where he's finished off by Colin Cole.
Bill, we've seen Iowa State go down, drive for a touchdown. We've seen the turnover. Now we see them running the ball. Little complacency maybe in the locker room, possibly at halftime for Iowa?
I don't think complacency. I think what happens is that Iowa State now believes they're supposed to beat Iowa, and they're going to give them their best shot. Iowa must be able to absorb this run and somehow hang on to win the game if they want to win.
First and goal from the 8 and Rutland.
Dave, let me tell you what Hiawatha Rutland did coming out of the locker room after halftime. He ran all the way down the field and into the end zone, into which Iowa State is driving right now. He went up to one of the corner pylons, put his hand on it, knelt, and prayed. And Dan McCarney told me he wanted his team to run the ball much more here in the second half than they did in the first. So between Hiawatha Rutland's prayers and McCarney's requests, maybe that's what he's trying to do.
Michelle, after this play, tell us about the electricity on that sideline for Iowa State.
They go up a few watts if they score here. Second and goal, 7.5-yard line. And Wallace on the slant in has a touchdown. Jamal Montgomery.
This is a perfectly thrown football on the quick slant, a play that's almost impossible to defend. Again, the corner must keep inside leverage, and in this case, he simply does not do that. He lets that receiver inside, and it's a beautiful catch by Jamal Montgomery for the touchdown. And I still want to hear Michelle talk about that sideline when we get a chance.
Beneke makes it a 3-point game, and it didn't take long for the Cyclones to erase that 17-point lead. Back-to-back touchdowns to begin the second half. 24-21 Hawkeyes. Well, Herky's working as hard as you can, but 2,500 being as loud as they can, and give about a foot here or there. Iowa State beats Alabama on that field goal, and another 6 inches or so. They at least force overtime against Florida State. They're maybe a foot and a half away from a real fine winning streak. As Lewis hesitates before bringing this one out, and buried inside the 10-yard line is where Iowa will start. So what we've seen in just about half a quarter is what Iowa State is now made of.
It's what they've been doing for the last 3 years. There's been a sea change in the attitude. Iowa State believes they're supposed to win, and I'm really interested in what that sideline is like, because that's critical in this hostile stadium.
And I know coaches try and make adjustments at halftime, but right now this is on the players. The players have decided they are going to take it upon themselves to get themselves motivated and come back in this game, and they are just on fire right now.
They gave Lewis the 11 on the return, revving on the carry, and a gain of 8 down to Michelle.
Oh, Bill, you've asked what it's like on this Iowa State sideline. It is lively, to say the least. This is a team that was pretty low-key there in the first half when they were trailing. Dan McCarney told me at halftime, we've been in this position before. And yes, indeed, I did remind my players about that near comeback against Florida State. That's very much in their mind. The players are doing it, but they're running on a lot of adrenaline and emotion right now, Bill.
Just determination etched on all those faces. Redding sets up second down and 3. again, Aaron Grebbing to the left side and a first down to the 26. Into the studio and a look in from Reese Davis.
All right, Dave, it seems as if the Gators had a little bit of a hangover. They were weather delayed for a while. Up on Ohio, just 7-6. Rex Grossman down the middle of the field. Aaron Walker by himself for the touchdown. And late in the second quarter, Gators up now 14-6, trying to restore order. They, of course, have Tennessee coming. Look at Phillip Rivers. Already dropped 20 on Wake Forest. The Wolfpack up 20-6.
Where Dan McCarney could not look like more all business than he does. 6:27 to go in the third. And holding will mark this one back at the 9-yard line. So Iowa, after 2 good runs by Grebbing, back inside the 10. Monday Night Countdown delivered by UPS provides up-to-the-minute NFL news, comprehensive analysis, and live interviews. All the news from the best of the business beginning at 7:30 Eastern, leading up to Monday Night Football, Philadelphia, Washington. Donovan McNabb, Steve Spurrier, Monday night 9 Eastern. So 2nd and 12 after the mark-off. Grebbing again trying the left side. And a quick adjustment this time by Brandon Brown from outside linebacker to knock him out.
And this is what Iowa State has got to do. They got run all over in the first half when Iowa ran for 193 yards. Backs weren't even being touched till they were 6 and 7 yards down the field. Now it's shifting a little bit. Seneca Wallace bringing it back on offense. And that defense, they're trying to get penetration. They're still not successful at getting penetration, but at least they're wrapping up at the line. We've been talking about the missed tackles and what they have to do. Break down a little more, wrap up, at least hold on till you get some help from your friends.
Banks breaks the huddle by calling timeout. And heads to the sideline to talk over a 3rd and 10. 6:01 to go in the third. So far in the third, all Cyclones. Back in Iowa, looking at a 3rd down and 10. Their own 12-yard line. Their one-time 17-point lead chopped to 3. And Dan McCarney hopes he has a defensive stop coming.
Dangerous territory right here for the Hawkeyes.
Blitz coming.
Phillips coming on the blitz. Grebbing takes it and should have a first down. Wow. 3rd and long, they run it for 10.
Absolutely inexcusable. John Scladani, Dan McCarney will be sick. You let them run it right down your throat. Out for the first down. That's a huge play for Iowa. And an equally huge play for a defense that just got knocked off the ball and manhandled. There's Scladani. Defensive coordinator can't even bear to watch. Folks, that's disgust.
Well, Russell's still out of the game. We saw him come off holding a shoulder early in the third quarter. So Grebbing continues to work a tailback. And swarmed at the 25 after a gain of 3. Hit first by Brandon Brown.
Again, they spread him out on the 3rd and 10, thinking it was going to be a pass. They run it up the gut. Coach McCarney is just going to be disgusted with this play, and your facial expression will tell that. Or his facial expression, I should say. He's got that coach's face. He's got that snarl working, doesn't he, Bill?
Yeah, he's a nice-looking guy until he turns into a head coach.
Snarls like that, it's going to stick.
That's what it does to you.
It's going to stick like that.
He's a heck of a head coach.
Yes,
These two guys, both these guys know what they're doing.
215 on the ground for the Hawkeyes. Jamel Lewis in for Grebbing. Fake is to him. Phillips almost coming with the safety blitz. They knock it free from Banks again. Recovered by Iowa State. Tim DeBrink, the nose guard.
Number 91, Tim DeBrink, was relentless coming from the backside. And a lot of quarterbacks sort of have a sixth sense about when someone's converging on them from the rear. Brad Banks never suspected he was back there. And DeBrink was able to get that football out. Nice play. Excellent presence. Excellent presence by DeBrink to get this football out. Well, it came out again. He must be struggling with his thumb because he dropped that ball before he was hit.
Good teamwork there. Good pressure on the front side and made Banks had to step up and gave that extra second for DeBrink to come in there and get the hit.
This had to be unthinkable for the Iowa fans to see a 24-7 halftime lead maybe evaporate in about 11 minutes. To the end zone, Danielsen. Not quite in, he's a foot away.
Are you kidding me with with that throw. We talked about what the arm strength of Wallace, the accuracy of Wallace. He stands right in the pocket, knows exactly where he's going, and drops it in over the cornerback and under the safety. What a beautiful throw.
Shades of Florida State.
Wow.
That pylon, that was awfully close to a touch.
So Wallace lowers his shoulder pass, tries to sneak it in. A marker is down, and Wallace is not in.
A marker. Every referee on the field threw his mark.
That usually means defense offsides, but not always.
They got a ton of men on the field. They probably got about 18 guys on the field.
Well, take your pick.
Yeah. Well, here you go. You guys said it, like Florida State. It was 38-31. This could have tied it up. Seneca Wallace, they said he stepped out of bounds right there at the 1-yard line. Certainly got the ball over, but they said he was out of bounds. Here you go, same thing. Wallace drops it in through the air this time. Hits that pylon with his knee. They mark it out at the half-yard line.
And now, after half the distance to the goal, it's 3 inches instead of 6 inches.
That ball can't be any closer to
12 men on the field, inexcusable.
Wallace again sneaking and not getting in. And they pile him up a foot away.
What we're seeing on the goal line is another flag, but Colin Cole and Jared Claus, the big guys, are just too strong, and maybe the reason they're so strong, Mike, is because they're lining up offside.
After this is the goal. Repeat first down.
Now I got to see this. How do you get half the distance from where they were?
But Bill, what you're saying, and look at the intensity again from McCarney, but what you're saying is right. The guys are trying to get so low to the ground, their heads are over their hands.
So it's 1.5 inches away, and this time they give to the fullback, and a touchdown for Joe Woodley, and Iowa State leads.
What we said as we got into this, and it was apparent that Iowa State was going to make a run, was that Iowa's going to have to withstand their best shot. Well, the best shot is still going on. Now, the question is whether the Hawkeyes can suck it up, not drop the ball, regardless of injury, and move it down the field and get themselves back in the game.
Another Beneke extra point. 21-0 in the third quarter for the Cyclones, who looked dead in the water at halftime.
Boy, credit these players. Pulled themselves up. I'm sure they went through the adjustments, but the players have done the job.
Iowa has been without Fred Russell in the last 2 offensive possessions. Michelle, what do you know about it?
Well, it's not good news if Iowa wants to try to run the ball to get back in this thing. Fred Russell sporting ice on that left shoulder. He is done. A bruised left shoulder, out for the remainder of the game, so they'll have to operate without him.
Wow, that takes away 16 carries, 139 yards, and the first touchdown of the day for Iowa.
But I tell you what, they still should be all right, guys, if they get, because, again, when we were watching it, when we showed coming back from halftime, the holes were huge. Whether it's Lewis or Greving, the holes are there. And these backs just have to be able to get through, and that line has to continue to sustain the stick and stay that they've done. Stick with their defensive man, stay on them, and let these backs hit the wide open holes.
When you're determined to win, and another team's making a run at you, and you lose your best back, at least best for this night, it doesn't matter who steps in. You just find a way to get the job done. And again, it goes on the big guys up front.
Lewis back deep along with C.J. Jones. Russell, the second leading rusher in the nation through the first 2 games for the Hawkeyes. Gone, and it will be Lewis and Greving it running back the rest of the way, and another bad decision by Jamel Lewis on a kickoff. Second time in a row, he should have let it go. And they'll start at their own 5-yard line. So the third quarter for Iowa State has been one big play after another. Down 24-7 at the half. They got going immediately with some help from Brad Banks, who lost control as he brought that one back. A touchdown pass to Montgomery, stripped by Brink, and the touchdown dive by Woodley. And just like that, from 17 down to 4 up. And now a chance to keep the Hawkeyes pinned back in the shadow of their own goal. Good to Aaron Gregan, who is caught in the end zone. Safety.
He didn't get out. Absolutely.
Number 41, Jeremy Lloyd, the strong side linebacker, was in the end zone in the backfield. Instantly, the bad decision on the kickoff led to the field position, which allowed the safety. So Lewis makes this disastrous mistake on the kickoff by dropping the ball and very nearly left it on the ground to be recovered. And now the safety and the two-pointer for the Cyclones as they have taken over the momentum in this game.
Well, you usually talk about runs like this in basketball. 23 unanswered Iowa State points here in the third quarter in a little less than 11 minutes. They have turned this thing completely around. And now with the safety, they have a 6-point lead, and they're about to get the ball back again after the free kick. Kaeding teed it up at the 20. And Michael Wagner returns it to the 30. I can't remember a game that has turned this much, this fast. The three of us have seen in a long, long time.
Phil, from a coaching standpoint, you go into halftime up 24-7. I mean, is it just flat out come to want to? I mean, obviously you're making the adjustments, but I mean, the motivation has changed. The momentum has switched. I mean, how do you explain this as a coach?
Well, the biggest thing that's happened is the 2 turnovers, just the flat-out drop balls by the quarterback. Banks hasn't been able to hang on the ball, and that has electrified Iowa State after the first drive.
Fake reverse to Danielsen, which they did in the first half. Another on-target throw, but this time Montgomery can't hang on. Antoine Allen got a hand on it. Michelle?
Well, just as you've seen the momentum turn in this game, boy, these benches have flip-flopped here in the second half. After the safety, Iowa State's bench simply erupted. They look like a team en route to a bowl win. They look like this is the most important game of their season right now. And meanwhile, Iowa, the Hawkeyes, reacting to every bad piece of turn of events that is happening to them, just looking sullen and somber and very concerned on their sideline, Dave.
As you would expect. Iowa State has averaged taking over at the Iowa 49 this half. Iowa's average taking over at their own 12. Wallace keeping, and they had him roped completely. Run out of bounds by Kevin Worthy.
Got a flag down. This is where senior leadership for Iowa has got to take over. There's 9 senior starters out on that field, offensively and defensively. These guys are going to have to step up, speak up, and pick their play up.
And to continue to respond to your question, Mike, about what's going on in their heads, they're beginning to think now, yeah, these guys did beat us 4 times in a row. And furthermore, we got outscored in the fourth quarter last year.
Holding.
Here's the call.
On the offense. Penalty is declined. 3rd down.
The only quarter in which Iowa did not hold a significant edge over their opponents over last season was the 4th. They were outscored 74-43 in the fourth quarter last year. That is not a good psychological starting point for this game.
Not a soul is sitting down for this 3rd down try, which features a well-executed fake by Wallace, but not enough room to do anything with it. And he is dropped by Jared Claus at the 32.
Safe play there. They didn't want to risk anything by going for the... And that always interests me. You get some turnovers, you get some big plays going. There's 3rd and 10. Your quarterback certainly the ability to complete a 10-yard pass, and you call a safe play there. Seems like now maybe they'll work on the field position game a little bit.
So for the first time here in the third quarter, Yelk on to punt it away. Ed Hinkle is back for the Hawkeyes. Not a bad kick into the wind. Hinkle up to the 31. And for a change, Iowa will start with good field position. When we're done, right around 9:30 Eastern tonight, here on ESPN2, Dave Ragone and Louisville against Bradley Van Pelt and Colorado State. 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific, as College Football Saturday continues on ESPN2.
Battles within the war. Iowa finally won a battle on the defensive side there. Offense has some good field position. Now what do they do with it? How did they answer the bell? We found out how Iowa State did.
Cervantes and Greving in the eye behind Banks, who has fumbled twice here in the third quarter. Greving caught for a safety last time he touched it, and he gouges out about 3 here. Jeremy Lloyd, who recorded the safety with the tackle again.
Mike, you speculated about the conservative call with the quarterback draw by Iowa State. I'll guarantee you that head coach, Dan McCarney, has got folks upstairs saying, look, let's be careful. Let's don't give him good field position. Let's punt the ball, and let's see if Banks drops it again. He's had so much trouble holding the ball. It's clear that something's bothering his hand. He simply can't hang on to it.
Kirk Ferentz's team outgained in the third quarter, 127-29. Play fake keeping and stop for a loss by Lloyd, who has made 3 straight tackles for Iowa State.
Well, this certainly hurts him right here. You see Russell, 139 yards. Definitely done icing that shoulder, as Michelle said. They're going to miss him, but the holes were big. I mean, there's no way they can use that as an excuse, even though this kid came in averaging 160 a game. They have excellent running backs, and they had excellent holes to run through.
Last time they ran for a first down on 3rd and 10. This time Banks trying to throw deep for Hinkle, who got tangled up a little bit with Ateef Austin, but not enough to draw a flag.
Bill, I was never a fan of that play. 3rd and 10, move the sticks. You try just a go route. I have a hard time understanding that route in that situation.
Well, sometimes the coverage dictates when there's a hard corner, then that's a conversion of a route. They may have called something else, and it automatically converted to that little fade because it was a too deep with a hard corner.
David Bradley. Wind at his back. Sails a long one to Todd Miller. Cyclones start from their 17. 45-yard kick. We'll check in with Reese.
Well, Dave, UCLA always challenges itself in September out of conference in Stillwater tonight to take on Oklahoma State. Corey Paws leading his team and looking for Mike Seidman, who's right along the side for the touchdown. Bruins up by a couple of touchdowns. Florida State and Maryland. A couple of field goals for the Seminoles have them on top 6-0. And Texas on top of North Carolina and Mac Brown's homecoming, so to speak, 9-0 at the moment.
Boy, after we saw North Carolina on offense, especially last week, I got the idea Texas would have a much tougher time than they might previously have expected, but not so far. Wallace up the sideline, caught in stride, perfectly thrown by Lance Young. The throw caught him right over the shoulder from Wallace to Young. It's good for 32 yards.
Now, big man Mike, let me say I think you might like this play a little more with Seneca Wallace throwing it. Because this is uncanny accuracy. The corner's supposed to get a bump. The receiver clears the bump. The throw is absolutely perfect.
What I liked here is he put it on a rope because he couldn't lob it because the safety's coming over. He put it on a straight line to get it as quickly as he could to Lance Young.
Trying to pick his way through the middle, Hiawatha Rutland. Well, tomorrow night, Pittsburgh and Oakland. If you see those two matched up, you always harken back to the 1972 playoffs and the immaculate reception by Franco Harris. But we'll see what Rich Gannon and the Raider offense has in store against Cordell Stewart and the Steeler attack. Reeling after a Monday night loss to New England. Raiders-Steelers. Coverage begins with NFL Primetime, presented by Miller Lite at 7:30 Eastern. Just across midfield. 2nd down at 8. Young fighting for the first down and should have it as Allen drags him back from the 41-yard line.
They spread it all over the field. We've seen him throw to the middle. We've seen him throw the dart to the side. We've seen him throw the out route. And the true test of the strength of a quarterback's arm is normally the out route, because you're throwing across the field and it has to get there on a line. It can't hang at all. And Wallace has done a fantastic job 300 yards tonight. We've seen him, and the key thing to me is he spread it all over the field. And then, when in doubt, he's able to take off and run. An incredible threat for this offense.
Still have to go back and remind myself he was not recruited as a quarterback and might not be playing quarterback if the guy ahead of him at Sacramento City College hadn't gotten injured. Recruited as a defensive back, kick returner, and what nobody knew is what Iowa State has delightedly found out. He not only could play the position, one of the best in the country. What a third quarter for the Cyclones, from 17 down to 6 in the lead. We begin the fourth quarter with the Cyclones leading by 6 and set up at the 40 of Iowa with a 1st and 10. Dave Barnett, Mike Golic, Bill Curry, Michelle Tafoya, Iowa City. Terrific matchup and a terrific hit on Whitver. Delivered by Antoine Allen for the incompletion. Our ESPN. Red Banks twice lost fumbles in the third quarter. And the Cyclones down 24-7 at halftime. Ran off 23 unanswered points in the 15 minutes just preceding. And from 17 down, they lead 30-24. Looking for their 5th straight win in this series. Wallace, a day and a half. And again, incomplete out of the hands of Danielsen. We check in with Reese Davis.
Okay, Dave, when last we checked on the Texas score, it was 9-0. It was because they were about to kick the extra point after this Chris Sims touchdown pass. It's like a little wheel round of Ivan Williams going in for the touchdown. Longhorns up 10-0. 6-0, Florida State on top of Maryland until Chris Ricks stands in there. Finds Anquan Bolt, a nice fingertip grab in the back of the end zone. 13-0 Noles.
Big 3rd and 10 here. Iowa State knows all about trying to come from behind against the Noles. Deficits don't bother them. They've proven it again tonight. Wallace heaving into double coverage and incomplete for Danielsen.
Really, really poor decision by Seneca Wallace. Right into double coverage. An easy interception by Pagel or Sanders. If somebody just goes up to the highest point and catches the ball.
Yeah, seemed like nobody's going to want
Nobody seemed to want it. It was just a wad of bodies.
But you're right, bad decision to throw it up there. Just hoping for a big play by your offensive player. Not going to happen again. The Iowa defense holds.
And they are out here looking at a 57-yard field goal. They have the wind, which has picked up quite a bit at their back. They have Tony Yelk out, their long-distance specialist. Career best is 47 yards. He's made only one this year. It was from 45. And they took too much time.
I think that was the plan, maybe draw him offside, try and get him offside somehow, some way. Now they'll back it up. Go ahead, punt it, try and pin him in. Make it a field position. Make Iowa go as far as they possibly have to go to score. They need a great pooch punt right here.
Yelk also the punter, of course, so he'll try to hang one up again with the wind at his back, with Hinkle standing at his 10. He had 4 blocked last year.
They won't be coming after this one.
They are not. They might get a hold call here on Jeremy Lloyd. Pretty obvious. Punt is marked out at the 16-yard line, but Jeremy Lloyd spun his man around by the jersey. It's only a 29-yard punt as it stands.
Well, they're going to take this punt and decline the penalty. Somebody paid the price. Jeremy's not near as popular over there right now as he was when he got that safety.
Yeah.
Well, he made the mistake of running off the field right by the head coach. Last guy you want to see after a flag.
I think they're going to make him punt it again.
Holding on the kicking team. 10-yard penalty in the previous spot. Still 4th down.
They don't want it on the 16 or 17-yard line.
They may regret that. They may get it on the 9 now. But we shall see.
Good punter. Best in the nation as a freshman last year. Among freshmen, nobody had a better year than his 43.8. You see his numbers so far here.
I would have taken the ball.
I would have punted it again. I think we disagree.
I would have kicked the field goal. We got it all covered? Wow, look at this one sail all the way into the end zone. And there is a 55-yarder.
That's for the average.
What he can do when he lays into one. Good matchup Thursday night. Cadillac Williams and Auburn, Dante Walker and Mississippi State. You're going to get 7:30 Eastern. College Football Thursday presented by Circuit City on ESPN. For more on our lineup of upcoming games, go to ESPN.com, keyword schedule.
Can you imagine somebody who walked out of their den at halftime and went down the street for a pizza and just came back and tuned this thing in the fourth quarter? Its score is what?
Iowa 80 yards away. Down 6, and Jamel Lewis is the tailback and run down behind the line of scrimmage. Look at the pile of white trailing Lewis, leading the way Brandon Brown.
A monumental difference in this football game is what's happening to the defensive linemen in the white shirts in this half. Last half, they're getting knocked way back off the ball with big gaping holes. Nothing there. Nobody home. No place to go. That's excellent defense, and they weren't doing that in the first half.
Talk about reestablishing the line of scrimmage. You wanted the defensive line to be 1 or 2 yards in the backfield, and that's exactly where the left side of the defensive line was for Iowa State.
Iowa at the half had 291 total yards. They have 46 in the second. Lewis again to the right side. Hit hard at the 20. Anthony Forrest getting there with violence on his mind, and right behind him for Iowa State, Bo Coleman.
And Bo Coleman, a key name there, Dave, because he's a defensive end. First half, we saw linebackers and safeties, the ones making the tackles on these running backs. The last couple of plays, last couple of series, the linemen have been getting into the act, which means they're getting penetration and getting off the blocks much better.
They were hitting their heads on the goalposts in the first half, and nobody was making a tackle.
They got tired of it, and they have adjusted. Banks gets off a dart for Maurice Brown, and a first down to the 35.
And that was just an excellent throw. Good pocket presence, nice protection, and that thumb must be feeling better. Maybe we've made too much of it because he simply dropped the ball twice. But this guy knows what he's doing. He has not panicked. He's not worrying. He's allowing the route to develop. He's trusting his protection, and boom, nice follow through.
And you know, Coach, every time that he has come to the sideline, he has had absolutely no attention from the trainer, so that thumb seems to be fine.
Look fine there. Lewis picks up 6 hard-fought yards on first down.
I think this is smart. There's plenty of time in the game. You're down 6. You keep doing what you do best. You keep running. You keep playing the smash mouth football. You hope to get another one of those holes, and you can work some play-action pass off it, because even when he's pocket passing, he has time to throw. So let's check out the hole. You see Iowa State trying to get that penetration again. There's a hole. Where's he going to find it? They're filling it a little quicker as Iowa State now, but because, again, the ball is given 6 yards deep, but the holes are there to run through at times.
Two tight ends in the eye. You think run, you get pass instead, and batted down on a safety blitz by Anthony Forrest.
That play was there too, Bill. Dallas Clark was coming out. It was a fake. He was blocking the tight end. He was just going to drift out in the flat, and he was wide open.
A lot of Texas recruits. More of the Hayden Fry legacy. Iowa State and Iowa both have a pretty good recruiting inroads down to Texas. They've extended it to Florida. Pick some up here and there from California. And each with their share of the Iowa Farm Boy connection, too. Here's 3rd and 4. Eight on the line, 3 wide. Banks hurried into the incompletion intended for Dallas Clark, and the Iowa fans want interference on Forrest. They won't get it.
Anthony Forrest, excellent work in coverage here. He's anticipating, he's stepping toward the route that he expects, and as it develops, he's in man coverage. Doesn't matter whether you're in zone or man, when they come to your area, it's man. And he played the football beautifully without putting his hand over the back of the receiver.
Bradley. No pressure on him, sails a beauty. And how about the coverage?
And a flag hit
By
in the back.
Scott Boleyn for Iowa, hitting Todd Miller inside the 10.
Now, I believe they're going to call the block in the back as well. I don't think he broke the halo. Again, they have to give some space to the returner. Oh, it is the block in the back.
Now what's happening here is Iowa State, that makes a living in special teams, is making one mistake after another. We had the hold on the punt a moment ago. Now we have a shove in the back. Mark Timmons, number 18.
You'll see it coming down. It'll come up on the right hand of your screen, the screen right there.
When you can no longer see the front number on the jersey of your man, you cannot block him.
.32 to go. 6-point game in Iowa City. First and 10, their own 5-yard line. And you hear what Wallace had to deal with to get the snap off. Markers down, throw on the money. Lance Young gathers it into the 18, and we'll wait for the indication.
And I don't know what the flag is, but Seneca Wallace is something else, guys. This time rolling left. We talk about getting his shoulder square to the line. He does it and fires a dart. He is something. But
meanwhile, injured at the 22-yard line appears to be Bob Sanders, the fine junior strong safety for the Hawkeyes. Don't forget, when we're done tonight, we have Louisville, Colorado State coming up. 9:30 Eastern. College Football Saturday continuing. ESPN2 with a good one from out in Fort Collins. As loud as it was about 30 seconds ago, that is about how quiet it is right now as they have attention surrounding Bob Sanders. And while we wait on word about Bob, let's check in quickly with Reese Davis.
They started playing in Norman again, Oklahoma, and UTEP. OU up 14-0. Nate Hibble in there, quarterback, a little fake on the end around, and then the hero against Alabama last week. Ronaldo works. This time he was wide open, didn't have to break any tackles. 21-0. Nebraska and Penn State in Happy Valley. Zach Mills, boy, Zach Mills, deaf, finding Larry Johnson for the touchdown. Nittany Lions up 7-0.
That's a long time for Nebraska to go scoreless. Bob Sanders with obviously something with the right leg, maybe the knee, as he is helped on.
The penalty was illegal motion. Call on Iowa State. The receiver came in motion and obviously was moving toward the line of scrimmage.
Well, we will hope, as Iowa fans hope, that's not anything serious for Bob Sanders. A terrific player. All Big Ten, their leading tackler last year as a sophomore.
Yep, back him up, right guard. Moving.
Bob Montgomery, number 65. It's all about poise. At this point in the game, we're in the fourth quarter. We've got to come off our goal line. First, we have a wide receiver who makes a mistake of formation, moving toward the line of scrimmage in motion, and then we have a lineman who's not paying attention. He's distracted by the noise or the pressure or the fatigue or something. But these are the ways that you take yourself out of a football game.
So now we see what happens. As Iowa come after him, go for the big play. You also take the chance of Seneca Wallace putting the big play on you.
Don't come after him when you got Seneca Wallace down here.
Rutland takes it only back to the line of scrimmage. Maybe a couple here. It'll be third down. They need to get to the 16.
This is a time when you get Seneca Wallace on the corner with a chance to run or throw, take the safe throw or turn it up and try to make the first down.
What do we know now about Bob Sanders, Michelle?
Nothing official yet, Dave. Still waiting on that, but I did want to tell you he's in excruciating pain. He is in tears on the bench. I'll get you more in a moment.
That is tough. He's the guy that said losing to Iowa State is the worst feeling he has ever had. At halftime, it had to be one of the best when they were up 24-7. Wallace chased by Howard Hodges as he throws to Whitver. He does it again. Over and over. Seneca Wallace pulls him out of his back pocket. 29 yards this time.
Now listen carefully to me and let me explain to you how very difficult this is. This young man, who's an absolutely brilliant football player, is running to his left. He turns his torso all the way beyond 90 degrees. His shoulders are perfectly square. This is perfect technique. This is absolutely amazing. He's throwing the ball away from the direction he's running, and he threw a strike between the 2 and the 6 of Whitver, who makes his customary catch.
Is he everything he was advertised to be? Rutland on the carry. And the list of testimonials from people who have coached against him, played against him. Kirk Ferentz said he's like Randall L. of Indiana. High compliment. Ricky, his offensive coordinator, everything you'd ever want in a quarterback. He gets comparisons to Charlie Ward from Bobby Bowden, to Eric Metcalf, to Eric Crouch, and I'm not sure if even all that begins to
None of that is the biggest compliment. The biggest compliment is from Norm Parker, who says the guy is intellectually superior. He's so smart because he can vary what he does week to week without losing effectiveness.
So you see one look 1 week on the films. You get ready for that look, and all of a sudden he's changed it to something different. Throw to Rutland as he scrambles. And Rutland, almost stripped of the ball, fights his way to the 35.
Well, here's the problem I have. I know we're talking about Seneca Wallace, but I'm going to tell you what. You saw it there. They contained him. There is no excuse on the 3rd and 10 to let him out of the pocket. There is no excuse. Here you saw it. They contained him. They don't get much yards, but he's rolling left. You know he's most dangerous when he rolls out. This time, you have the contained man coming up the field here to cut him off. That's what you have to do. They did not do it when he rolled left. No excuse to let him out of the pocket when you know that's exactly what he's going to do to try and make the big play.
They come with a safety blitz. And again, throws going to his left. And again, he has a strike to Whitver. Those two have something going on this drive. 11 more yards, another first down.
And while we're trying to describe this virtually indescribable young man, you're a defensive lineman. You got him dead to rights. Right? Wrong. Now you see him. Now you don't. Uh-oh. That's grass I'm grabbing, and another completion.
It's called the Frankenstein move. It makes the D-lineman look like Frankenstein. All stiff-legged, and head down. And
D-linemen are Frankenstein.
All right, see, I knew it.
340, and to Jack Whitver now, 132 yards on 8 catches. He came in with 7 for 94 on the year. Rutland, nothing down to Michelle.
Dave, good and bad news about Bob Sanders. It's the foot, not the knee. That's the good news. However, he's out of this game, and his foot will require x-rays. There's some concern that there's a broken bone there. That's the bad news. But initially, they were looking at it as if it were a knee, like a torn ACL. The good news is it's not that, but they will let x-rays determine exactly what it is.
Well, long-term, that is good. So 2 major performers now out for Iowa. Bob Sanders, who can do that to you at 5'8", about 190, and the nation's second leading rusher coming in, Fred Russell, who left with a shoulder, which has been iced the entire second half. On the run, he hits Danielsen this time, turns it up inside the 35. Woodver and Danielsen continue to get loose. 22 yards this time to Lane Danielsen.
Now, Mike, you talk about contain. This time, Hiawatha Rutland comes out and just nails Kevin Worthy, number 53, knocks him down. So you can't contain folks when you're lying on the ground. So the blocking is also excellent as Iowa State continues its domination of this period of the game. There goes Worthy on the ground. That's Mr. Rutland, number 12, who can run, who can play special teams. The guy can also block. Lane Danielsen with the catch.
His 5th for 131 yards. 2 receivers, over 130 for Wallace. So they march from their own 5 to the 34 of Iowa. Wallace late pitch on the out to Rutland. To the 20. And the march continues. 14 more yards for Hiawatha Rutland.
Well, Steve Brickey, the offensive coordinator, said we have to do a little bit of everything, and that includes a little bit of option, Bill. And I was never a fan of a little bit of option, but when Seneca Wallace is running it, a little bit goes a long way, doesn't it?
That's because you got a whole lot of quarterbacks. A whole lot of quarterbacks. But the guy, again, Norm Parker said the thing that is the most intimidating is not his athletic ability, it is his mind. He's obviously just brilliant at football and understanding. So a little bit of option is a lot with him.
10th play of this drive. Rutland wrapped up by Howard Hodges. There have been plenty of no gain sprinkled into this drive, but every time they're looking at 3rd and long, you see Wallace sprinting out and hitting Whitver or Danielsen. So we're getting down near the 6.5-minute mark, and we're still wondering, what were they thinking not playing each other for 43 years? This is what they were missing.
Incredible.
24-7 Iowa at the half. 30-24 Iowa State with under 6.5 minutes to play after 23-0 3rd quarter.
Look for him and be conservative here. This field goal is huge.
Still on the ground for Rutland. And it pops loose after he's down. No, that's a helmet, not the ball. Lost his head. It'll be 3rd down and 9. The senior class for Iowa has never beaten the Cyclones. And you know they were tasting it with a 17-point halftime lead.
And that those bottom lines there, 14 points off the 2 turnovers. That is taking care of business when you cause that turnover. Get the turnover, I should say.
Head coach's job right here is to think about the fact that there's a 6-point lead and there's a big difference in 6 and 9 in that they cannot catch you and pass you with 1 score if you kick this field goal. It will require 2 scores to beat you.
They've picked up a 3rd and 11, a 3rd and 9 already on this drive. All day for Wallace, through the hands of Montgomery this time. It was a little bit high, but it looked catchable.
Got to make that catch. The man does everything for you. He throws the ball right on the money again and again. When he's a little bit off, you got to give your friend just a little bit of help. Montgomery need to make that catch. That is sad. Well, I sure hope he's okay.
Yep.
Sure hope Fred Russell's okay. Both delightful young men. We had a chance to sit down and talk with them, and they sure love football.
So 36 yards here from Kinnick for a 9-point lead, and he has nailed it.
It will officially take 2 scores for Iowa to win this football game now.
So the run is 26 unanswered points for the Cyclones in the 2nd half. Can they hang on?
ESPN2's presentation of college football brought to you by Volkswagen. On the road of life, there are passengers and there are drivers.
Iowa State with a 9-point lead. And again, Iowa will have to start 80 yards away. Down to Michelle.
Dave, take a look as Bob Sanders made his way into the Iowa locker room on crutches, no elevator, so he's having to use crutches to get himself upstairs. You know, I had asked Bob Sanders what it takes to be a great hitter. He said it takes heart, it takes a sense of no fear, and you cannot think about getting hurt. And it's sort of ironic that just yesterday, less than 24 hours ago, he was telling us that. He was never afraid, but I'm sure he's a little bit fearful about what those x-rays on his foot are going to tell him.
No doubt. In Iowa, every play they're without him, they regret it. They have been held to 48 total yards here in the 2nd half, and they start 80 yards away, needing 2 scores in a little over 5 minutes. A good start, good throw, Hinkle, and then lost it. And Iowa State recovers. Harold Lewis on the recovery, a backup corner.
We've seen Banks drop a ball, get a ball knocked out of his hands. Now receiver, lose the ball. amazing what's going on in the collapse of the Hawkeyes this second half. Nice throw, everything's there, puts it right on the money. Hinkle trying to get the yards, tries to cut back inside. Gets a hand on the ball. Harold Cluess causes a fumble, and there is rejoicing. The people that aren't here are watching in Ames, Iowa right now.
Brad Banks, who has lost 2 fumbles of his own this half. So now they'll grind out as much as they can. Maybe give to Rutland. Turnovers helping the Iowa State cause to a huge degree.
I'm just amazed at this, and certainly the turnovers. I mean that is awful, but Iowa State has converted them. Still, we talk about the adjustments you make at halftime, but we've seen from the line to the quarterback to the running backs, they have just played differently this half. They have just outplayed Iowa. They've out-hit Iowa when that's what Iowa did to Iowa State in the first half.
And now for Iowa is they need to turn around and strip the ball. Now that is almost impossible to do to an Iowa State running back. Wallace carries out the fake. Didn't want to get knocked out of bounds, though, and he is to stop the clock at 4:20. The thing that Iowa State does in terms of not fumbling the ball, Bill, is the best I think I've ever seen by any team at avoiding turnovers. They lost 2 fumbles all of last year. Neither was by a tailback. Their tailbacks have lost a total of 4 fumbles in over 2,000 touches in the last 5 seasons.
Let me tell you something. That's good.
Now that's some sharp analysis.
Way to break it down, Bill.
That's very good. What's not so good is that Wallace ran out of bounds, and he can't believe he did it, and I can't either.
Rolling left again. And steps out of bounds and looks to be short of the first. We check in quickly with Reese Davis.
All right, Dave, Penn State and Nebraska. Nebraska marched back down after the Larry Johnson touchdown and about the 2, and Judge Davies just going to slam it in there for the Huskers. They are locked up at 7, and State has the ball back moving some. Florida's been sloppy. It's been a driving rainstorm, but they're in control against Ohio 21-6.
Where are the red pants? When was the last time Nebraska didn't have red pants?
They need to change something, but and more than red pants to get them to where they can tackle after last year. But I am amazed at Seneca Wallace, and we've bragged and bragged on him. He's run out of bounds twice in a row. That's a full minute they could have run off the clock.
A lot of time still on that clock as Benecke's 38-yarder is good. And so they need 2 touchdowns in 4 minutes and 8 seconds. You wouldn't believe it, but there are some in black and gold who are starting their way out of Kinnick Stadium. 36-24. And the exodus has begun from Kinnick Stadium. We salute the airmen assigned to the Pacific Air Forces watching our telecast on the American Forces Network, including the members of the 374th Airlift Wing at Yokota Air Base, Japan, the hub of the Pacific. This is going to be returned by C.J. Jones. And he may have something here. Reverses field. May need one more block. Yelp turned him back inside, and he's to the 49-yard line, and there's a start at least. A 46-yard return by C.J. Jones, where it looked like he had nothing.
And while we talk about strength coaches, the strength coach for Iowa State, strength and conditioning, here we are in a second half, essentially a blowout by his team. Matt McGettigan was the 2001 National Strength and Conditioning Coach of the Year. So maybe we should have been bragging on Matt. He got his guys coming out here in the second half and just taking over.
Iowa with 2 timeouts, 3:49 remaining. They start with Banks from the gun, and his receiver fell down on the cut. It might have been a nice gain or 2 for Maurice Brown had he kept his footing.
Both these teams last year were outscored in the fourth quarter. Iowa 72-43. Iowa State surprisingly outscored 62-60 in the fourth quarter in games a year ago.
And the leader of these matchups after one quarter has won 11 of the last 12. That has been turned on its ear. Halftime leader won 12 straight of these. That also may be about to end. Another incompletion. It'll be 3rd and 10. Down to Michelle.
Dave, you just mentioned one point. I mean, imagine Iowa having a 24-7 halftime lead, knowing the team leading at half has won the last 12, and believing that the seniors were going to finally get their win over their in-state rival, and then seeing all of that just slip away in a matter of what seemed like minutes. This is a very dejected Iowa bench.
Well, I go back to what you were told when you took over to Alabama about the Alabama-Auburn series, and you said, yeah, that's like life or death, isn't it?
Yeah, except it's more important than that.
A lot more important here in this state, too. Banks will keep, should get the first down, and knew exactly where he needed to get, and he beat it by a foot. Out of bounds, first down, 41-yard line. Seneca Wallace has been beyond on fire in the second half. He's thrown for 361 yards. Banks with 140, and what will stick in his craw are the 2 third-quarter fumbles when he brought the ball back to pass and simply lost his grip.
Both these men are just belying the image of the junior college quarterback transfer, that they can't pick up systems. They've been around other programs too long. They can't come in and run your offense. These guys have both mastered sophisticated offenses. They both audible at the line of scrimmage. They both do things intuitively, and Seneca Wallace has proved himself a genius in football beyond his physical ability, particularly Wallace.
Here's the last half dozen times Iowa's had the ball. 3 fumbles, 2 punts, and a safety.
Look at the yards, too. We saw they were just eating up the yardage in the first half off the run. And these are complete drives for these yards. They were getting this amount of yards in one play. What an incredible turnaround.
Now, from the first half, when all they had to do was hand it to Fred Russell, and you get 10 yards a pop. Scored on a 1-play drive, scored on a 2-play drive in the first half. Second half, nothing. And on a safety blitz, Anthony Forrest comes, and he gets Banks again with some help. Brandon Brown gets in there as well.
Yeah, and here's a thing that Banks should have been able to see. Forrest gave this away. He came creeping up. He showed that he was coming, and you got to compensate for that. You can't just miss that. And obviously, Banks just didn't see him. He creeped up. He showed he was coming. There is an adjustment. You either got to get a hot route and throw it, or you got to check to a run, do something to keep that from happening. That's a drive killer.
And this is going to kill their second timeout. They have only 1 left. They had everybody up on the line of scrimmage, clock running, and didn't like what they had. 2:53 and 1 timeout left.
Confusion in the offensive brain trust for the Iowa Hawkeyes, and it's understandable under these circumstances.
Don't forget, good Sunday night football matchup tomorrow night on ESPN, Pittsburgh and Oakland. Beginning with NFL Primetime, presented by Miller Lite at 7:30 Eastern, and then Rich Gannon and the Raiders. We'll go head-to-head with Cordell Stewart and the Steelers. We'll look to avoid an 0-2 start.
The whole team gathers. Dan McCarney gets that whole team together. He knows there's 2:53 left. He knows there's time on the clock. He knows Iowa could do something. He gets that whole team together and reminds them. I guarantee you they were all looking up at that clock. And he was saying, until there's 3 zeros there, you play your guts out.
There's something about that physical proximity, just being in that huddle with your guys, everybody, special teams, offense, defense, not just one unit or another, not with your position coach, but everybody looking each other in the eye and reconfirming that resolve. Let's finish this job.
Talk about looking in the eye. Look at the look of the eye.
Not a good look. Brook Trout stare.
Now they're ready on 2nd and 16. No blitz this time. 4-man rush, and Banks is going to step up and keep again. Had to avoid the umpire to get back to the original line of scrimmage. A huge difference this half. Iowa on first down in the first half averaged just under 10 yards per snap. In the second half on first down, they have averaged under 2 yards per snap. So no more second and shorts. 3rd and long here, needing to get near the 31. And they're going to be close on the catch by C.J. Jones. We'll see where they mark him.
C.J. Jones has responsibility to get beyond that yard marker and then come back to the ball and still have enough for the first down. He did not get that done. That's your job in a situation like this on a route like that.
College Game Day scoreboard next, and then Louisville, Colorado State. They didn't give him much of a spot either. They still need about a yard and a half. They'll throw for it. It's caught. First catch of the day by a true freshman, Clinton Solomon. And he has the first down yardage at the 24.
That first down in college football stops the clock, and we're seeing excellent poise here by Brad Banks.
Banks out of the gun. Again for Solomon. And not much this time, only 4 yards.
Don't forget how many times you see a drive like this. The team scores with about a minute on the clock. An onside kick. They get the ball. They go down and score again. And before you know it, they're back in control. I'll guarantee you they're not quitting.
Not much time left for any more 4-yard patterns.
No. If you're going to do that, get out of bounds.
Time to get serious. Banks looking end zone. And caught by Brown. Reaches for the goal line. Got it. Touchdown. Maurice Brown. And Iowa is not dead.
Kind of like that.
Kind of like that.
Coach Barnett. Yes, sir.
What a great job of Banks hanging in the pocket and gunning it right down the middle of the field. That's a fantastic job. Stands in, steps, and just fires that ball. Look at Brown, gets it now. He says he sees that goal line. He says, gang, I am getting it over the line. That is determination right there. Great job.
Kaeding still has not missed a kick all year, field goal or point after. And now we'll see how they are on the onside kick as they cut it down to 5.
In a real rivalry, when the men are just absolutely determined to win, there's a never give up thing that is so much fun to watch. You have to admire the Iowa football team after all the adversity. Look at this throw and catch. That's great concentration. The college rule is when that ball breaks the plane, the location of the football when the knee touches, that's what determines whether or not it's a touchdown, and that was a touchdown.
And it was a team touchdown there. Great protection by the O-line as Coach Ferentz says, okay, onside kick, we'll get in there, and Coach McCarney saying, hey, that's why I told you guys, there's plenty of game left. This team can come back. Now the onside kick, Bill. The fun onside kick. How often does a kicker work on the? I know you get your special team periods, but what do you?
Let me interrupt you. Every single day,
but
you take your kickers over and you work on these kicks every day. Here's Seneca on the hands team. I lost a real good quarterback having him on the hands team one time, but I wouldn't mind seeing Seneca out there. He's liable to hit it up if it comes his way. You just don't want him to have a chance to hit him. Now, this is the kind of thing that you coach the kicker such that the ball takes 2 little skips and pops up in the air when it's done just right. And about the time it gets there, so do your guys.
So Kaeding looks for the big hop, and it goes right to Danielsen. And he hangs on at the bottom of that pile at midfield.
You're absolutely right, Bill. I know that. Remember going through, it's exactly how you want to do it. That didn't happen there. Skipped along the ground, didn't get that high pop, and a great job scooping the ball.
You got to be aggressive and go for it. That's what Lane Danielsen did. I think he bobbled it around a little bit, but he did end up with it. I used to play up there in the front, and it's not a good feeling when it comes to you. Of course, I wasn't a receiver either.
But you know you're going to get hit. No doubt about it. They're going to light you up.
He's got a scholarship for hanging on to the ball. So of course, he had to earn his scholarship.
Yes, he did.
He's yet another one of those walk-ons. He's also a 420 bench presser, and that kind of strength would be much appreciated by my pop, who's a lifelong strength coach. He'd love to hear about a guy that gets in the weight room, one of those wide receivers that benches 420. That's nice.
So now all the Cyclones have to do is what they do best, and that is hang on to the ball and whether one more Iowa timeout. They give to Rutland. He gets maybe a yard, and here comes the timeout with 1:15. And if they hang on for another 1:15, they will take back to Ames the Cy Hawk Trophy.
Now they're going to have to make a first down to finish this job. They can't just kneel down every play and run it out.
So when we're done here, as we've been telling you, we've got Louisville and Colorado State just about teed up and ready to go in Fort Collins. And let's look in there right now.
All right, Dave, and Bradley Van Pelt, the man that most of us have dubbed the toughest quarterback in America. Got the longest hair, perhaps. Getting ready to lead the Rams against Dave Ragone and the Cardinals at the bottom of the hour.
Well, I have to go a ways to top this one. Well, again, I can't remember a game that turned so completely, so quickly from 24-7 Iowa at the half, the way Iowa State took over things in the third quarter. Michelle?
Dave, you were talking about the trophy they're playing for. Let's talk about another trophy, the Heisman Trophy. Remember Joey Harrington's campaign in Times Square, the big painting? Well, Iowa State, when it comes to Seneca Wallace, says we didn't have enough money for that. So we're going to put him on the Sphinx in Egypt. We're going to hang his poster from the Eiffel Tower, from the Leaning Tower of Pisa. You know, in the first half of this game, it looked like Seneca Wallace's Heisman campaign was over, but it looks alive here in the second.
Yeah, you know, everybody has their Heisman candidate, and at some point it all gets lost in the wash. But if people really pay attention to this kid that they've got in Ames this year, I don't know what else you're looking for.
He's the real deal. The only other thing I would have looked for is if he had stayed in bounds both those plays in the previous series, this game would be over. And his coaches would be very happy about that because they're not going to be able to make this run out. I mean, Iowa's going to get the ball back unless they make a first down.
There you go. You're being a coach. Look at that fantastic game, and you're yelling at the kid. You're mad at him. You're mad at him.
I love him, but I can't help pointing those things out.
Tough love. Rutland. And 30 seconds.
Now they got to wait for the ref.
Depends on where they mark the ball.
Nope, it's
Play
over.
clock has not started. It's going to be over.
They did get it run out by less than a second. Normally they'll mark it quicker than that in a situation like this, but they were a little deliberate, and hence the game is over.
So Dan McCarney has done it again. They'll take the Cy Hawk Trophy back to Ames 5 in a row over his former cohort here in Iowa City, Kirk Ferentz, 36-31 with a 23-0 third quarter. Iowa State turned a deficit into another victory over the Hawkeyes. For Mike Golic, Bill Curry, Michelle Tafoya, Dave Barnett, this has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Back to the studio.